Go. Oh, let's go. And we're back. What's going on, brother?
Not much. How you doing?
Good, man. Did you enjoy watching these films?
I did. I really,
Good,
really
man.
did.
Good.
I thought this was a great choice of topic.
We had a good crop of movies this time. I mean, we're really getting into the meat of the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of these, and it was good because I've seen quite a few of these before, and then some I had not seen, and some I hadn't seen in a really long time. So to get to re-experience them and have an excuse to put them back in, not that you need one, but to then view them all together as well makes you really appreciate each one more.
Yeah, I agree with you. I took a film noir class in college, and I think I watched all of these.
Oh, really?
So it had been a while for some. A lot of them I had like I got the Criterion for Kiss Me Deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep, I have that.
Mildred Pierce. I got the Criterion for that. I was really impressed. I thought they did a nice job.
Yes.
Um, you got any housekeeping? You see any good movies that we didn't talk about last time?
In between, did we mention we talked about the holdovers? I think last week, right?
I think we talked about that to each other. We might have talked about it last week. No, I think we did because I
I think
talked to you on the
I
phone
think
about
we
it
did.
pre-show.
Yeah, and then Killers of the Flower Moon, also really really good movie
Yeah, I've not gone around
that
to
I
that.
would
I think
highly recommend. Go ahead. What
it's
did you say?
basically gone from theaters now.
Yes, it probably is, but if you can get it on demand, you can. I think it's on Apple included with that, but if you
Oh,
don't
it
have that,
is.
you can get it. I think you can get it just any on demand service. Like you have to pay for it, but
Sure, sure. Were you able to get Oppenheimer on on Blu-ray?
not yet. No, I haven't. I haven't bought that yet. But I saw
Were
it
you able?
twice in the theater, so I mean, I'm not itching to like watch it again right this second.
Okay, yeah, I feel you. I'm curious to see what the behind the scenes stuff is because I know Nolan said he was working really hard to put together a really good disc to kind of help save home video as well, which would
Oh,
be cool.
I will say one other movie I did watch, and I think I mentioned it to you, is Coma, Michael Crichton.
Yeah, dude, I love Coma. I think I'm going to do a video on Coma and kind of rope it in with Crichton's other movies, especially his early stuff like uh, Runaway and Looker for sure.
Yeah, I
If you
really
guys,
really liked it. I had not seen it before, but I really enjoyed that. I always enjoy these old time medical thrillers. Certain things are just so outdated, and some things are still the same. So it's just kind of an interesting curiosity from that regard.
well, and you know who I really like too is Genevieve Bujold, who she had a lot of really great roles, not in any huge movies, but she's in Coma, she's in Cronenberg's
Earthquake.
Dead Ringers, she's in De Palma's Obsession, right? She made a lot of really
Earthquake.
cool Earthquake. Yeah, she made a lot of really cool movies, so I like her a lot too,
You
and
know,
she
she
does a
was
great
the
job.
original choice to play Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager, the captain. And she actually filmed, I think, part of the pilot episode, and she couldn't handle it. Like it was too much for her to do a
Did
series, and they
I'm
pulled
looking
her.
at her on the internet now here, and it looks like she did play Star Trek at some point.
Yeah, it didn't make it to air, but they replaced her with Kate
Oh,
Mulgrew halfway through the pilot.
that's too bad.
Well, I mean, Kate Mulgrew was an excellent choice as the captain on that ship, but
I've never seen that show. I apologize.
yeah, you should definitely watch Voyager. Highly recommend it.
I haven't watched Next Generation, dude. I'm a OG guy all the way.
Well, don't watch season one.
I don't like the aesthetics of of Next Gen. It just looks like a Best Western hotel from the 90s or something that they're hanging out in all the
It's
time.
amazing. What are you
I don't
talking
like it.
about?
I don't
I could.
like it. It's
I
just
wish I could
weird.
decorate my house like that.
Yeah, I don't like any of the people. They all look sort of like off-putting to me, like Data. I don't like him. I don't like
Oh
Worf.
man, just because you haven't watched it enough. You need to watch. You can that should be a show at some other point. Is picking specific episodes, like the best
all of Star Trek.
episodes of that. It's a Star Trek Next Gen, and
That
talking about like 4 episodes or something like that.
that could be a lot of fun actually, because then I would have to I would be like the fun ringer guy who didn't know anything, you know.
But
And you
Star
could
Trek
have like a
Voyager is a really, really good spin-off show. That was the launch of UPN. So 1995, when they launched UPN network, Star Trek Voyager was the flagship show. And it's
Okay.
kind of like goes back to the themes of exploration more so that they had drifted away from in the previous show, Deep Space Nine, which was set in a space station, sedentary. They get trapped on the other side of the galaxy and have to find their way home. So they find all new alien species that they'd never encountered before until that didn't work out too well. And they're like, let's throw the Borg in.
They like to go back to that Borg.
Oh, yeah. It's a ratings and
Yeah.
winning
Perennial
strategy.
hit. Yeah, no, I would actually be
Digress
interested in
too
doing
much,
that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for our next show that we're going to do at the start of the new year, which is we're going to do Space Ghost and Johnny Quest and all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yes,
Not
I'm a
all of them, but
huge
the
fan.
comic
Not
book
all of them,
influenced
because
ones.
that's too many. Even the action adventure cartoons, there's too many to do in one thing. There's the
Yeah, I was gonna
Boys.
say I have like Dino Boy on my Space Ghost Blu-ray. I don't know if I have a lot to say about that.
There's not a lot to say about Dino Boy in the Lost Valley. It's okay, like you can watch it. It was never my favorite, even when I was a kid. You'd have to
No,
sit through it to get to the second Space Ghost cartoon.
the next Space Ghost. Yeah, which I do like, and I did. I was screwing around with Chat GPT the other day, and I just said, "Hey, Chat, will you write me a story of a Space Ghost, but written like Ernest Hemingway?" And it did okay. Yeah.
I think I've mentioned it to you before, but in the past, the Future Quest comic book that came out, it's been a few years now. If
Yeah,
you
I heard
want
that was
something
cool.
that's new with Space Ghost, new-ish, that's a really great, and that mashes all of the Hanna-Barbera superheroes into one cohesive story. So Johnny Quest, Space Ghost, Birdman, Galaxy Trio, Frankenstein Jr., Mitor, they're all in there. And the guy who wrote it clearly loves the material and knew who these characters were and cherished like the use of every single one of them. It's fantastic.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
And then there's actually an anthology, a series that came after that was done, where they did individualized stories of all the different characters. So there'd be like a 3-issue Space Ghost story, a Birdman issue, Mitor, etc.
Sounds cool. Anything else going on?
Before DC Comics is in their current state of decline. I should just end it with that.
Bummer. At least
Yes.
James Gunn's coming to save the day, right, dude?
Oh yeah, but I mean, even the comic division is in decline.
Is bad. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm with you. You want to start on Mildred Pierce here?
Absolutely.
This was one you were adamant to include. What do you think about it?
I was. I hope you enjoyed it, because
I did very much so. I'm not saying anything. Yeah, but you go ahead. Go off.
Yeah, no, I think it's a interesting choice to pick, because it's a most unusual noir, and in that, I mean, it's bookended by a noir, and the middle of the movie is like a completely different movie that is not a noir. It's like a melodrama.
Melodrama. Yeah.
Yes, a melodrama, or as they used to call it, the women's picture.
A woman's weepy. Yeah.
Yes, about a working mother's struggle to provide for her daughter and her family, to provide the things that she could not have when she was a child growing up. But I also picked it because it stars Joan Crawford, who I'm very much a big fan of. And I know she probably has a more polarized reputation amongst, film fans and audiences. Some people love her, some people hate her. I really do like Joan a lot. Well, you don't think so? I feel like
why would anyone hate her?
People, I've read things and seen things where people just hate Joan Crawford for whatever reason. I don't know why. But,
does she get lumped into a sort of like a Judy Garland bucket, where she has like a following amongst, like, let's say, the gay community? You know what I'm saying? Like, the Stonewall riots were kicked off by Judy Garland dying. I mean, is there sort of like is that in there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But I'm a big fan of Joan's, just because she's like one of those larger than life movie stars, right, from that era that don't exist anymore in this day and age, right? So you totally manufactured image and star, right? Somebody who came from absolute nothing. I'm reading the biography of her right now. It's a quick read. Yeah, I think I sent you a picture of that book, the Fred Lawrence Giles book.
Okay.
He wrote a book, a biography of her. She was born into like, I mean, almost poverty in Kansas City near the turn of the century. She made her way to Hollywood, became a huge star at MGM in the 20s and 30s, and then became like almost her career almost ended at a certain point. Her movies were doing terrible, and she became labeled as what box office poison,
Yeah.
and then got canned from MGM. And that would have been the end for most people, right? If you get fired from a major studio like MGM where you were disastrous. Well, she managed to get her new contract at Warner Brothers, and then one of the first few films that she makes is Mildred Pierce, for which she wins the Oscar for the Best Actress. So I mean, talk about someone who persevered, someone who survived a sea of change throughout the industry and was making movies up until the early 70s, really. Um, just kind of a remarkable career.
Kind of like a Katharine Hepburn,
Yeah.
where they pitched her as a leading lady, but she had this core appeal with like actual women, right? Rather than just like the ingenue for the lead man, right? So like she was able to sustain that because she had like this hidden fan base, right?
Yeah, there were definitely, and the book talks about that as well. There was a dedicated Joan fan base even back then, and a
Yeah.
different type of audience came to see Joan's movies compared to other stars' movies. And a lot of these movies, they were not. Some of them were not very popular at the time, and they've been reevaluated and reclassified as cult classics. I mean, Johnny Guitar is another one. Not to keep harping on that one all the time, but
Right.
it's a very unusual film for that time period. She dominates throughout that, and it's been reappraised as a modern classic. So
I forgot to add our slides here for the people at home.
I also appreciate that, like later in her career, she really didn't care what she was doing. She would take anything. She would take anything just to work, right? And so she made, whatever happened to Baby Jane, of course, was a big hit at the time
My
and was a
mom loves that movie.
well made
Yeah.
movie. You've never seen
My,
it?
my mom loves it. I've never seen it. I've
Oh,
not. I'm sorry.
oh, okay. Well, we have to do that at some point.
Okay.
And it's also directed by Robert Aldrich, who did Kiss Me Deadly. So,
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you're right. That's right. Yeah, he was an interesting guy. But go ahead.
but then after that, she maybe got a pigeonholed into that weird, not sci-fi, but like kind of horror genre at the time, and she started teaming up with William Castle, making his movies. She did Straight Jacket and movies like that, and then kind of ended her career with some real stinkers like Trog, and which was where,
Trog, bro.
oh yeah, Trog is that's like where I draw the line. That's like almost unwatchable. But
Shameful.
yeah, but Mildred Pierce, as we
Yeah,
mentioned, bookended by like some of the most stunning textbook examples of noir, right?
absolutely.
We begin at this isolated beach house where, a man is shot. We don't see the identity of the killer. We see the broken glass, and he stumbles onto the floor, and we hear Mildred, and the gun drops,
Right.
and that's our movie to begin.
Yeah. Zachary Scott, playing Monte Barragon, sort of like a
Yes,
ne'er do well, dilettante, fake rich guy, right?
yes.
Who will be very aggravating throughout the movie. Not because his performance is bad; it's very good, and I'm excited actually to watch the series on HBO. Have you seen the modern remake
I
with
have
Guy
not,
Pearce in that role?
but I'm very interested in looking that up as well.
I am too, because there's a lot to the story, and I was actually surprised that James M. Cain, a guy who wrote Postman Always Rings Twice and Double Indemnity, it was a very different type of story for him, because it's not like this steel trap, premeditated murder premise, which is what he's most known for, I would say. But it's very much like a melodramatic thing, and I was shocked by that. I was shocked by the relationship with the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an incredible movie. I really enjoyed it. I was gripped the entire way. But yeah, I was blown away by the opening sequence, where we have uh, Jack Carson playing Wally Fay, being ensnared into a trap by his old flame, Mildred Pierce, and that little like beach house. What would you call that? Is beach house or what's the word they use in California?
Like a bungalow or something.
Bungalow or whatever you want to call it. But like just the sharp shadows and the way that it's, shot in these wide angles where you see just this like sheer sharp, angular focus. And it made me think a little bit about the director, Michael Curtiz, who is a guy who I think doesn't get maybe his due credit, but it's possible that it's because he's not necessarily like in the traditional sense. He was like very adaptable and a total chameleon. So I think people tend to like attribute the successes of his films to other things, or there are other elements of his movies that kind of go beyond his direction. So he's just kind of thought of as, like, I don't even know, like a producer almost in the way people talk about Michael Curtiz, which is unfair perhaps, but no one's come up with like a unifying theory of his movies, really. Would you agree?
That's a good point. Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's like almost like Howard Hawks. There's so much variability, and there's so much. He wasn't contained to one particular genre or idea, and when you cross that many different lines, it's hard to then find the thread that runs through them unless you look really, really, really closely at the underlying themes of the way it's made and things like that. Which I have
Casablanca, Captain Blood with Errol Flynn, Mildred Pierce, Robin Hood, Angels with Dirty Faces. I mean, he made like, if you were to look through genres in the early 20th century film, he made one of them,
Yes. One of every kind. Yeah.
Yeah. But go ahead.
I was going to say this, as I sort of touched on, it is one of, if not the only film noir that I can think of that centers from the woman's perspective, right? Mm-hmm. The woman is the lead. She is the role that we typically put the man usually serves in the role that Mildred plays in this part, and she is the victim. At first, you think that she is going to be the femme fatale in the movie, and it's set up that way as she ensnares Wally to take the fall for the crime, for the murder.
Who very much is a film noir protagonist in the context of it being his movie, right? If it was his movie, yes, he is. But go ahead.
Yes, that's like a totally separate movie that then they abandon in order to focus on the melodrama, which is very compelling, and it breaks your heart at different times. And then we are introduced to the true femme fatale of the movie, which is also one of the only teenage femme fatales, and that is daughter Vida. I would argue that Vida is the femme fatale of the film, and she
maybe one of
the
of all time.
Mother in her trap.
Yeah, a horrible child.
Yes, one of the worst, just wicked to the core, spoiled rotten, and I mean, there's no redeeming qualities to Vida whatsoever. She is just bad.
And I can totally see why this would have been so popular as a woman's picture, right? Because it seems like there's sort of this perpetual battle throughout time with women and their mothers that is somewhat, I think, perplexing from the outside to men, but seems to be a mainstay in culture, right? So you could see how this is compelling, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's to the test of time.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is like very, very high drama. I mean, it doesn't get better than this.
And it kind of brings up ideas of class that we don't think about so much anymore. Sort of the idea, like today, I think that we do a much better job as a culture of exalting sort of like self-made people. I think about, oh boy, she's the entrepreneur who came up with cookies they sell in the mall. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, like Mrs. Fields?
or something like that. There's one of these cookies they sell in the mall. Maybe someone in the chat can fill us in. But it was like created by a woman. Like she was a stay-at-home mom and she made these cookies. Everyone said, boy, these are really good. And she became a multi-millionaire magnate who had like 4 husbands, right? Very much sort of like a real life Mildred Pierce. But like the fact that the daughter would confront her with things like, that she was ashamed that she was a waitress, that she had to hide that from her children, like the idea of a single mother, like working overtime, multiple jobs, baking pies, etc., like that you're a hero, and rightly so. Right. But back then that would have been seen as shameful because you just weren't, the landed gentry, as it were, of America. It's kind of shocking. I think it makes that character more unappealing. I don't know if that would have been resonant at the time to an audience. Would they have said about the daughter, well, she's got a point. Her mother is of low breeding. You know, I mean, would
I don't,
anyone
I
have thought
don't
that way?
think, yeah, I don't think so in terms of maybe ordinary people, but I feel like that's still a popular or predominant sentiment amongst wealthy people that look down upon new wealth, old money looking down on new money. That there's a sense of classlessness or uncouthness to them, and certainly that's not the case here. I mean, Mildred does everything she can to be a more a higher member of society. She's not low class, right? She's just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
But she succeeds beyond her wildest dreams to make a successful life for herself, for her children, and then she has to virtually throw away everything in order to maintain this high on the hog lifestyle for the most ungrateful daughter ever, who's never satisfied with anything. I mean, it's exemplified at the beginning of the movie when um,
Oh,
Mildred
sad.
orders a dress for Vita, and she makes it known to her husband, who they're very poor at this time. The husband is not working, and Mildred says that she baked pies and cakes for people in the community and sold them in order to buy this dress, which she wants to give to the daughter so that she can have nice things. And the daughter is utterly ungrateful and says, "This is the most ugly dress, horrible. I wouldn't be caught dead wearing this." And the mother sees this without her knowing it, and she just takes it. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting dichotomy to where she's a woman and professionally who won't be stepped on, and won't be, won't be pushed around. But when it comes to her family life, her husband is a total loser and a bum. No, I think later on in the film he becomes sort of admirable as like this sort of stalwart, like, figure in their lives. And it turns out he probably maybe was right about her spoiling the kids. But he's basically kind of a bum, when we begin the picture. He needs to mature, I guess. And I think maybe had they been a younger couple, like if you made a remake in 2023, he would be sort of like a young video game playing guy, right?
Yeah.
Like at home, you know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
would not want to, become an adult, right? I guess it sort of, perplexes you to see a guy who wears a suit all the time as a bum, right? But we have to remember that they had higher standards for dress back then. But, right. But, she picks wrongly when it comes to men. She just can't handle her social and family life, which is an interesting idea, I guess.
Yeah, she's only really good at business. That's where she excels. Everything else is kind of ancillary or incidental. And she focuses and prioritizes what can she do to help the children and help. And eventually, one child tragically dies. And the movie kind of presents it in a way that it's almost like a punishment for Mildred. Did you see this or pick up on this? I don't know. That's the weekend that she goes to spend with Monty. She's now separated from her husband. Monty's been courting her and kind of flirting with her, and they finally go away for a weekend. And sort of like as a punishment for her, when she returns, she finds out her daughter is caught pneumonia and is like at death's door and dies. And
Right.
it's horrible. I mean, and you don't expect something like this in a movie like this, right? And especially of this era, to see it so kind of not graphically, but it's pretty pushed to the forefront. There's no hand holding in that scene,
When you put it like that, it's sort of like almost like a biblical trial for this Job-like character we have in this film. And I expected when I watch it for it to be a movie about a woman who is just nonstop victimized, but it wasn't. It was a movie about a woman who ends up being able to take control of her life professionally after her, her man walks out on her, right? But you're right. I mean, I would be interested to read sort of a 1970s era feminist critique of this movie, because it sort of seeks to, I guess, answer the pre-question of can women have it all, right? Because the way you frame that as a punishment, which I didn't think of, I just thought it was just sort of like, like just more trials being heaped upon this poor woman so that you would have, sympathy for her. But when you frame it that way, it makes me think of it. Is this like a a parable about a woman. Hey, well, you should stay with your man in the kitchen because when you went off on your own, it went totally haywire. You know, what I mean, would that be like the intention?
I don't know about that part, but I think like more like anytime she's work, like, right, her entire life at this point is work, work, work. She finally takes one vacation, one break to try and focus on herself for once, right?
Yeah.
And it comes back to bite her that she relies on her ex-husband to take care of the kids for like a couple days, not anything major. And what happens? She contracts a terminal illness and dies. You know, it's like you can't let your guard down for 1 second. I think is more along the lines of what I'm talking about. Like,
or maybe you just can't live your life for your kids,
for yourself. You have to
for
live
somebody.
it for other. Well, she
Well, I mean,
can't live her life for herself. She has to live for other people.
Well, but because the idea I got from her marriage to her new husband, her sort of foppish, like, you know, ne'er do well new husband, supposedly rich, but, you know, dependent upon handouts from her, is that she married him because he has that kind of built-in class that her daughter was looking for, that maybe this man can elevate her. The hypocrisy of that being that
that's precisely why she marries him. And it's just so that Vita can feel a sense of being part of that higher class, because he has that mansion, which he's about to be foreclosed on, right? He's about to lose everything. And Joan and Mildred has to subsidize him by marrying him and giving him part of the business, all to pacify Vita.
Or is Mildred pacifying Vita because she's living vicariously through her and trying to give her all the things that she wanted and desired and didn't get? You know what I mean? Like the sort of overzealous football coach dad, right?
Yeah. That's definitely one way to look at it as well.
Okay.
But I mean, this is a very time-tested, still relevant way that certain parents behave and act, right? I mean, you see media examples, famous court cases where children commit crimes or murder someone or something, and the parents help cover it up, right? Or they help take the kids out of the country or something like that, right? I mean, you've seen this in real. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but
I mean, but does that strike you as it might be unjust, but is that an unnatural?
It's not, but she goes so far as to, and I don't know if you'd see this nowadays, the altruism of the parent here, which is to take the blame, to try and take the fall for the child. Nowadays, it's just let's just take you out of the country.
Yeah, I don't have any children, but from what I understand, there's a sort of brain rewiring that happens to where your priorities shift drastically.
Sure. No, I get it. But I'm just saying, like, the level of altruism for a child who has shown nothing but contempt for her mother to take the ultimate sacrifice, which may even include being executed for a crime you didn't commit.
Well, we can't like gloss over the fact that Wally Faye, she did try to set him up for the crime.
She did. I mean,
and Wally Faye is a character. So first of all, there's like three men in Mildred Pierce's life. Her sort of wooden husband that she divorces, her gallivanting fake, he
reminds me
husband.
Doesn't he remind you of the Vincent Price character in Laura? A little bit.
No, the Wally Faye. No.
Monty. Monty.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. No. Jack Carson's character of Wally Faye. The thing is, I guess Mildred is she should have been with him. Like, he's boorish. He's sort of like, but you know what? He's new money like her. You know, he is a hard scrabble kid, probably from the streets, made good in the restaurant, bar, entertainment business, right? He's not like, very, couth, but he's the guy for her. And even though he does like make what you would be considered today, like enormously inappropriate passes at her at home, right? He still has her back all the time. He has her best interest at heart. Sometimes he had to make hard choices, because he is a businessman first, because he's smart enough to realize he can't exactly prioritize Mildred because she keeps giving him the cold shoulder at every moment, right? He sort of lashes out against her by hiring her, Vita to be a gasp, cocktail singer at for a bunch of troops at his bar, right? But and what's his payment? He's someone that his payment is that she sets him up as the fall guy. So in that way, Mildred Pierce is a little bit of a femme fatale herself in that way. Now, luckily, he was able to get off, of the crime. But I mean, he's a victim here too.
Yeah, I mean, she tries the easiest thing she can to try and set someone else up for the fall. But I think the police, I mean, obviously the police saw through the entire thing, and I think any rudimentary investigation would have, shine light through that premise. But
Right.
as in terms of it's an interesting point you bring up about the three men in Mildred's life.
Yeah.
All of them are losers, right? Just to varying different degrees. And Wally is by far probably the most successful and the least bad, right? Or the
only
least
way in that he's a loser is that he
falls
likes
prey to his
Mildred so
own.
much that he and gets nothing in return. You know what I mean? He should have
Yeah.
dropped there years ago.
He's not a good person because none of them are, but he is the least malignant of the three.
Just sort of really ambivalent.
Monty being the absolute worst, absolute parasite of a person, of a human being that absolutely contributes nothing to society, to anybody.
Yeah.
And then I forgot the first husband's name, but he's immature is probably the best word for him. He has a good heart, I think, but it's kind of muddled and confused, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't realize how good he has it, and he's seeing like the grass is greener. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, great movie, man. I thought it was terrific, and yet, like the noir label, I think is a little. I mean, it's a movie with a lot of sordid elements to it, but no, I thought it was absolutely terrific. I really liked it, and I'd like to read more about it. I didn't have as much time to dig into it because I'd like to hear the Gloria Steinem take on Mildred Pierce. But
absolutely, I think the noir part of it really comes down to the bookends, right? The beginning and the end. And we have a character who's being grilled by the police, right? And telling her story in flashback. So we have the overhead narration, which is a common trope. We have a murder that is about to be solved through all this, and the general themes of what do we say? It's like alienation, kind of. Everyone's out to get you. All of these things come together and kind of make it a more typical film in that regard.
Well, you know what? Maybe I would take that back. Like the idea that it's just like a genre bending thing, because I think one of the cornerstones of the film noir is that it tends to sometimes be about a normal person who finds themselves in a criminal high stakes situation, which she does. Right.
Yeah.
Now you can have a character like Michael O'Hara from Lady from Shanghai, who is already sort of a morally dubious adventurer guy who can get himself into trouble just through his personality. I mean, he's just a longshoreman kind of dude who goes all over the world and maybe killed somebody. Right. But then you can have people like Ray Milland of the Big Clock, who just finds him a totally normal domestic guy, square community, A+, but he finds himself in a bad situation, which is kind of like what Mildred Pierce devolves into.
I agree. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Joan, and this is one of her best movies by far. That fur coat. I mean, come on, man. That's an iconic shot. She's walking across the pier at night wearing this like ridiculous, lavish fur coat, and she's about to throw herself into the river to commit suicide. It's
a good hook when you see that, because you're like, whoa, why would this guy want to, end it all? I should have reversed these images in my PowerPoint because, you know what I mean? But it's a before and after sort of look, right?
She's very good at playing this, the martyr, right? She's like always the victim, but she's doing it to herself at the same time, right? This
is Scarface for women. rags to riches, you know, I mean, like brought down by your desire to, you know, I mean, think about it. Tony Montana, he's all about his sister in a weird way. It sort of brings him down, right? She's not bad, but yeah, this
Interesting
is
point.
Scarface for women.
Yeah, I would highly recommend Mildred Pierce. I think
Absolutely.
that's kind of, I think we beat that one to death.
And I'd be curious to read the book.
Yeah, for sure.
Orson Welles, a film he called An Exercise in Eroticism and Exoticism. Of course, it went way over budget. He reshot a million things. Thought it'd be cool to shoot, you know, with natural light in Mexico, you know, and for the most part, I think it pays off. This is a terrific movie.
Yes. Thank you for picking this one because I had not seen
Yeah.
this one before. And I am very glad that I did because it was excellent. I loved it.
I just remember it being like chock full of like terrific cinematic moments of just images and like strange editing and strange blocking of characters and really interesting personalities and like a cacophony of like individual voices all talking over each other, like ramifying in this character's head, you know. And Orson Welles he's great in it. And Rita
Mhm.
Hayworth is as beautiful as ever. His
And of
former
course,
wife.
yep, they were married at the time during this film was made. So
No, I thought that they were divorced at the time.
mm-mm.
Oh, they
So
were married. Okay.
from what
I
I've
was,
read, oh, okay. So well,
oh,
maybe Robert
okay.
Osborne was incorrect in his intro to the
Oh, no,
movie.
maybe you're probably, I maybe misread it. He must have divorced his former wife. Cause yeah, how could you not
So
fall?
because
Yeah.
from what I've read, the only way this movie got made was because they were married. So Orson
Ah,
was not a very popular or in vogue actor director at this time. Okay, so he was not considered. The studios were not calling on him to make movies. Let's just say because, like you said, he went typically over budget and took too long to make these movies, right? And they were not very well received by the public. They were not commercial successes. They were not popular with audiences. I think they were maybe too advanced or too complex for the times. They were ahead of their times, right? Like Citizen Kane.
yeah.
Um, but what happened is that Orson was married to Rita Hayworth, who was the biggest star at Columbia at that time. Orson
Right.
was trying to make this Broadway play of Around the World in 80 Days, and he had no money to do that. So he called up Harry Cohn, who was the president or the in charge at Columbia Pictures, and said, "If you give me the money to make this for the play, I'll make you a movie. I'll write and star and direct a movie for you." And then in order to make Rita happy, who was their big star, he agreed. And so he adapted this Lady from Shanghai novel and put her in it, and they starred together. And then, of course, he changed her hairdo, which was she was like the most popular redhead right in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
he makes her a platinum blonde for this movie. And Harry Cohn apparently like had a fit about that too. The movie went over budget, was not a success at all. It was like the first bomb of Rita's career like after she became a star, and
Right.
just kind of just was a disaster all around.
To put it in context, I guess it maybe be like this may be a bad example, but like if Sydney Sweeney like married Harmony Korine or something. You know what I mean? Like and they made a movie together that nobody liked. But this is and I put this picture of Rita Hayworth here from Gilda with Glenn Ford, which is a terrific film noir as well. And to show her popularity, I mean, this is the bomb that was dropped on Bikini Atoll
Yeah.
to, you know, do the run through for the atomic mission in Japan. And they plastered her picture on it. I mean, you don't get, I mean, you're a part of history. And this photograph was just recently found. It was always an anecdotal story that they had either painted her on the bomb or slapped a picture of her on there. And they finally found the photographic evidence recently, like a year ago. But yeah, she was a bombshell. And I mean, just absolutely one of the most beautiful Hollywood actresses of all time. This is an awesome movie. And I hope you really enjoyed it as well.
Oh, I did. I loved it. I loved it. You don't have the post. You don't have the English poster, but the American one has like one of the greatest, I think, taglines. It just says in quotes, "I told you, you know nothing about wickedness," and it's
That's
like
so cool.
that. Just emblematic of this movie and this
Yeah.
character. This is like one of the other great femme fatales of all time. This character who is so manipulative and just very bold about everything. She makes no bones about hiding anything. It's just so transparent and so open, and everyone falls for it. Everyone is victim to her just her master plan here. It's
Yep.
just so captivating.
What does he say at the beginning? He goes, "Some men can smell trouble, not me." Right.
And he
In
knows
his
it.
Irish accent.
He knows he's being played the entire time, and he can't help it.
He knows because there might be a 1% chance that he's not. I just think about all the terrific cinematography that they employ in this film, and it was shot by Charles Lawton Jr., who was
Oh,
well respected cinematographer at the studio. But Wells complained that he was too slow, but he got everything that he wanted. And the movie is, I just think about that scene where he's behind bars, half lit, right, in shadow. And some of those scenes in the courtroom where the light that projects on the back of the courtroom is like, the iron work from
mhm.
outside the window, and then the judge's bench, and it's just a terrific movie. And I love those scenes that they used real world lighting when they're on the boat conversing with each other. And what does Wells say? Something like, "Is this how you talk to each other all the time? Because they're so spiteful and mean and evil." And he's like, he's like drawn into this world of like rich ne'er-do-wells. I mean, they're all just nasty.
I would also add the aquarium scene as another
Oh,
one, where
with the
people are
giant
almost
fish.
and people are almost completely in silhouette at certain times too.
Incredible. It would have
I mean,
been.
that, and then I wanted to point out that grouping these two together, Mildred Pearson and Lady from Shanghai, they have almost like in this one more so. They have almost like a fairy tale quality to them.
Yeah.
There's nothing realistic about any of these, about either one of these, and it's great. I mean, it adds to the flavor and the flair of it all, right? But
Yes.
as we'll move on to the other ones later, Gun Crazy and Kiss Me Deadly, there's a very stark like visual difference between these two, which have that dreamlike kind of like quasi fairy tale feel to them, and those which feel very stark, harsh, and like unforgiving. You know what I mean?
Well, I think part of it is the shooting on natural locations, which is not easy. So the camera is sometimes framed oddly, or the close up is too close, which creates like a sort of disorienting factor, right? And the natural light is not something you see in most pictures from this time. So it can appear, like you're just like in this weird void, and Wells, he cuts and uses so many different angles in a movie. Like, you wouldn't do this. Like, the studio was very upset because they shot multiple reshoots, and they were mad that Wells didn't shoot enough close-ups of himself, which he didn't. He only shot close-ups of Rita Hayworth, and he's in the wide shot, right? Which made it tough for them to cut. It was tough for continuity, right? Then he has blocking where like 5 characters are talking over each other at once, and a boat is rocking up and down, and the light is shining. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, it's not made like any film of the time.
That's what makes it so good, though, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an incredible, it's a great
the
novel.
other important scenes in the movie, I think, are you mentioned the courtroom scene, which is just such a travesty of justice that
Yeah.
the husband of Rita Hayworth's character is defending Orson Welles, but he's setting him up to be convicted, and it's all part of the plan, right? It's all part of the master plan, and it's just so you can feel it. And then at the end, he tells him this. He just before they're about to announce the verdict, he tells him, "I'm gonna make sure you go to the gas chamber for this," and he didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. And
He
you
is
never
just the
you have
ultimate sucker for this. Like, he's the ultimate patsy.
and you get the feeling like, normally I think you would critique a script by saying, "Oh, our lead character sort of disappears for these moments and like fades into the background." And he doesn't really cut to himself very often either in these courtroom scenes, because Everett Sloan is like, or is so good in just chewing scenery. He's got his cane and his goofy eye, right?
Yeah.
And when he puts himself on the stand, but yeah, it works though, because you feel like he's so minuscule and small, And I love the the use of the mirror, which you can see here, which is
Hmm.
the sort of climactic scene, which would be used to great effect, I think, probably in Enter the Dragon. I mean, they understood the power of this thing, but I mean, you cannot underestimate how difficult it was to film that sequence, right? Um,
Preceded by
especially today.
the funhouse scene, which also
Yeah,
kind of symbolizes his, I wouldn't say descent into madness, but like entering like the bowels of hell, right? And then
yeah.
you kind of see a reflection of what your life is and who this other person is. I don't know. It's just very unusual, something you'd never seen before.
Really a shame Wells wasn't appreciated at the time. I mean,
Yeah,
Citizen Kane, The Magnificent Ambersons, as much as The Magnificent Ambersons was, mangled by the studio, it's still an incredible movie. You know, one of the movies I wish we could have gotten to, but didn't, is Touch of Evil,
yeah.
which I guess is kind of a good demonstration of how long the film noir genre went for, because by then Wells is not so boyish. He's rather large at that point, right? Which he would remain. Um, but no, I love Orson Welles. I mean, he's become sort of a joke, I think, because of his wine advertisements. And have you seen those?
I've not.
Oh, you have not?
No, I have not.
Oh, dude, you have to see the Orson Welles wine commercials. Well, I mean, they're bad
I'll
enough
look
on
that
their
up.
own. What did he say? I'll serve no wine before their time. I'm trying to remember what the brand was, but they unearthed the outtakes like 10 years ago where he's just absolutely hammered on wine and can't get his lines out. Um, uh, God, what was that? What was that wine he did a commercial for?
I,
Paul Masson wine,
oh my
Orson
god.
Welles. Oh yeah, oh yeah. He also
I,
did an ad for honeycomb cereal.
I mean, he just at the end, he just didn't care, right?
No, he didn't. I should have included that. I didn't want to make this a bag on Wells thing. Um, that would be, yeah, honeycomb. I'm a big director. I want a big cereal. I
I
don't
wonder,
think that's fake.
was he bigger? We'll have to see, compare. Was he bigger or not as big as Raymond Burr got later in life?
Oh, I'd say about. But he's just great. I love Orson Welles. I love his radio plays. He did so much. Anything about Orson Welles. Like, did you ever see Me and Orson Welles? Um,
That what is? No, I've heard
it's
of that.
a
But
it's
what
a
is it?
slept on Richard Linklater movie with Zac Efron,
Okay.
and it's about his production of Hamlet, and it's told from the perspective of a kid who wants to be an actor and gets to play like a little extra in that film,
Interesting.
but the stage play. But the guy who plays Wells is terrific, and I thought the guy who did Wells in Fincher's Mank was pretty good too. Did you see Mank?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I did not like Mank. You can see. I actually do have a review of that one.
Oh, you
Back,
do? Oh,
that
I
was like
missed that.
one
I
of
must
the
have missed
first.
that.
That was one of the first videos I ever did for the channel back almost 3 years ago now. I didn't like it because I just felt like it didn't have a point or a purpose in showing what it's been a while, but there's
It's the Hollywood obsession of the romanticism of the blacklist. It's like that
yes,
lame
but it doesn't
Trumbo
actually
movie
have a
they made.
point. It doesn't actually have a point that it actually sees through or makes anything profound about. It's just kind of whining and complaining about that. And it's obsessed with Hearst, William Randolph Hearst, and why
Right.
he hates him so much, why Mank hates Hearst so much. But it's just petty politics. It's not anything profound or deep. It's just, I don't agree with your politics. So I'm going to write this movie about you and kind of taint all
And
these
stick it to you,
reputations
man.
and relationships that I've had with people that I know, and it felt kind of heartless and cruel.
It
Maybe
was
that
like
was the point.
Trumbo, but less lame. Trumbo was a very lame boilerplate, like biopic, which was bad. And did you ever see that with Bryan Cranston?
No,
Weak. It was about Dalton Trumbo, who also wrote Gun Crazy
no.
under a pseudonym because it was, the
Oh yeah,
black.
because
He was,
yes, I do.
yeah, yeah. It was pretty weak. But Mank, I did like because I thought the filmmaking was exciting.
Well, that
But
part was, and it looked great. I mean, I'm always happy to see a new movie
yeah,
in black and white as well. And that's why I
right.
was super psyched about that. But I just found it kind of insufferable. The performance by Gary Oldman. I mean, that character was not likable at all. He has no redeeming kind of qualities to him. I just was annoyed.
Which is exactly what my wife said when we watched Kiss Me Deadly about Ralph Meeker.
No,
Yeah, she was
no
like,
way.
I don't like this guy at all. He's like an
No, he's
asshole.
cool, man. He's
I
cool.
agree. I think he's like super cool. You know,
He's like,
which Robert Aldrich, I think, he was basically a communist, right? He made a also very lame movie about Hollywood politics called The Big Knife, which I watched and is really lame and
I haven't
pedantic.
seen that
And
one.
yeah, it's totally weak. And I think, you know, it's supposed to be like some sort of expose on Hollywood, but like it's just about how Hollywood won't let you be like a really cool communist and stuff. It's pretty lame.
He's dramatized in the TV series Feud, which was about the making of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. So
I didn't know okay.
They did a mini series on TV about the making of that movie. It's with Susan Sarandon and I think Jessica Lange as,
Really?
as Betty and Joan. Yeah, it's really
Oh.
really good. Really worth.
Okay.
You have to watch Baby Jane first though, otherwise you're not gonna appreciate.
Yeah, I will. I will definitely do that. I've also never seen All About Eve, so I missed like the.
Oh my god! Okay,
I know I've never seen it. I know,
yeah,
and I love.
You can do
I
one of
love.
those. Wait, you can do one of those first time watching reaction videos.
Oh,
You know?
I should. First time watching All About Eve. That would be great because I really like George Sanders. I think he's like a terrific actor. I love him.
Oh my
Foreign
god!
Correspondent.
Yeah,
You know,
George
so I
Sanders
should watch it.
and Ann Baxter in that movie, like those are vile, wicked creatures in that movie, and the amount of backstabbing and just like pure visceral like hatred for everyone in the movie is just it's so good. It's so satisfying. Like, and you can apply the theme. That's why I love All About Eve is that even though, and people will be like, why do you like this movie? It's about freaking Broadway stage performers and all this. It's like, you can apply that to any industry, any office, any trade,
Anything.
whatever you want.
Yep.
It's all the same. It's all
Professional rivalry and pettiness.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love George Sanders, and I always think about him. You ever remember Blue Velvet when Dennis Hopper's like, suave, damn, you're suave. That's how I feel about him. Same with no, I'll come to it. But you ever see Journey to Italy, the Rossellini film?
No.
Oh, with Ingrid Bergman. He made like a trio of movies with Bergman when they got married, and Sanders isn't one of them. It's sort of like a marriage story style, Kramer versus Kramer kind of thing, but from the 50s. Okay, we ready to move on?
Shanghai, I would just say that's another one. Highly recommend.
Very good.
I mean, definitely worth a watch. If you're getting into film noir at all, I would put this one high on the list.
Bing. Gun Crazy, dude. This is a fun little movie. I like this movie a lot.
I do as well. Definitely ahead of its time. Kind of a proto Bonnie and Clyde a little bit.
Sure.
I put the stark like demarcation between like the ones we just talked about and this is like a totally different animal type of movie. It feels more real. It feels very gritty. It feels very realistic. I mean, but I can't help but feel we're also like in a comic book at a certain point. These feel like these should have been Batman villains, these two. Do you not see it?
You know, the movie has such a sort of subversive message, but like, you know, it's filmed sometimes like a PSA or, you know what I mean? Like, what would you like? You know what I mean?
Yes. There is a cautionary tale aspect to this for sure.
Yeah, don't
go down this road because of crime, because your life will be a mess. But then it celebrates it at the same time, and it's so good. You know?
Yeah, and it makes it like super romantic and sexy and cool. Like, but the opening sequences with the judge being like, "Now, Bart, I'm sending you to a school because you can't." You know, it's like a one reeler, like, you know, public information. You know what I'm saying?
I think they had to do that. I think they had to do that part in order to get away with the rest of the movie, right? In order to bypass the censors and the you know, anything else like that.
Yeah, and John Dahl is an interesting actor. I've always found him very appealing. Rope is obviously a standout role. I'm maybe he's remembered for more than this.
Rope, though, is one of my least favorite
I
Hitchcock.
cannot believe that. Rope is so cool.
I have to rewatch it, but it's one that I just kind of dread.
It's Hitchcock's scariest and most off-putting film.
It doesn't do much for me.
I can't believe that. I think
that and the trouble,
so
Trouble with Harry are my least favorite.
You want to put that in with the Trouble with Harry? My least favorite Hitchcock is The Wrong Man, which is like
that's another one that's at the bottom for me. The Wrong Man.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
No, this movie's awesome. It's about Bart, who happens to be a great shot, sort of his doomed talent. He's doomed by his own abilities, right? It's the only thing he's good at. And he does a stint in a boys' reform school. Then he goes to the military for a while. Then he comes back to his hometown, visits the carnival with his buddies, and falls in love with a traveling cowgirl shooting act played by Peggy Cummins. They go on the road together and they decide to get married, which, by the way, was something I thought about, when they're driving alone together and they go, let's get married, right? Mm-hmm. That would be a very sort of, I don't think people understand that means let's have sex, like in the context of these old films, right? Yeah. Like you listen to Let It Snow, and there's that whole line about, we'll pretend like the snowman is the Parson Brown so we can get married, right? And everyone's like, oh, how wholesome, they're getting married. It's like, no, that's about it's like an extremely horny thing, right?
Winter Wonderland?
Winter Wonderland, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right? Is that, yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. He
yeah.
Because I guess there is some semblance of good in him still, right? He wants to have some kind of wholesome family life, even though he's roped into this kind of life of crime, bad situation. He feels like he can try and reform her, and so he wants to kind of put the stamp on all this and make it everything official. Mm-hmm. And she is a woman who is not going to be tied down, and puts it in not so many words that I want nice things. We can't get them the honest way. If you want to keep me, you have to do what I want to do.
Yep.
Wow.
If you want to be my lover.
Exactly.
But I look at this.
Go ahead. Think about what don't they seem like they should be like Batman villains? I mean, they are like two very, very odd, quirky characters who have these very, very unique and special talents with the guns, right? And they dress up in kind of flamboyant costumes. They wear the Western outfits for some of the crimes and stuff like that.
And flamboyant alter egos of very Clark Kent style when they're evading the police and they're like the just good churchgoers, And they dress up at the meat packing plant, right after work, right? But look at this photograph. I mean, this is like hyper rock and roll, out of context. You can see how that would hang in Haight-Ashbury Street somewhere as a very much defiant against the man sort of image. And you can also see why the French who coined the term film noir to begin with would have found merit in this movie that was sort of considered a B trash in America. I mean, this looks like a still from a Truffaut movie, like Band Apart or Breathless. You know what I mean? It looks like kind of what he was going for,
It's all about the beret.
It's about the beret. No, I'm like the sunglasses and it's perfect, But yeah, it's a terrific little fun movie. I like it a lot. And it was a studio picture, correct? I mean, it wasn't a Poverty Row. That's one other thing that I wish we would have included was the sort of a discussion on the Poverty Row film noirs like Detour.
It was not a major. I mean, it was distributed by United Artists, but it was more indie than
right.
It wasn't made by Republic or Monogram or somebody like that.
Yeah. Which I believe Detour is made by Monogram.
Yeah,
which is also a great
bottom of the barrel.
Have you seen Detour?
No.
Oh, we should have watched it. That's okay. Very similar to Gun Crazy. It's fine. But I would urge people to go out and buy the Criterion of that movie. Detour is spectacular. Edwin G. Ulmer film. Edgar G. Ulmer. Yeah, Gun Crazy. You brought up the fact that it's very Bonnie and Clyde. Or who, Badlands. Who's that based on? Charles Starkweather? Terrence Malick's Badlands with Martin Sheen. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I can't say that I do.
Anyway, my point is, had there been a real life, I guess Bonnie and Clyde would have been Depression era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was sort of like a takeoff on that. romanticization of the husband and wife crime duo, or the lovers expressing their passion through armed robbery.
And the love of guns too. That's the other
And the love
thing.
of guns. The love of guns. Yes, absolutely.
And the matching skill for skill prowess with a gun. We talked about in the Double Indemnity one the use of innuendo in the dialogue. This has just as much, if not with the dialogue, then with the body language while they're doing the shooting competition at the carnival. The flirtations and the just kind of sexual tension between the two is like very, very strong at that moment. And you can see that these two people are like, they're very troubled souls that are kind of destined for each other at that point.
Well, there's that great sort of worm's eye view. I think it's a push in of her when she comes out shooting those guns, and then she sees him in the crowd. I mean, it's like one of the great reveals of a character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, in recognition of attraction,
Yes.
through their talent. You know, and the gun itself is a sort of very, I guess, phallic. You know,
Yes.
yeah, right. I mean,
It's pretty blatant, like, yeah.
yeah, gun crazy.
Either
Have you seen the remake with Drew Barrymore?
of this movie?
Yeah,
I had no idea there was a remake.
there was a remake with Drew Barrymore in '93, directed by Tamara Davis, who basically, like, if you needed to make a movie with a rapper in it, she did it, right? Or a comedian. She directed Billy Madison, but her first, and she did a lot of music videos. She actually did 2 for the Smiths, so she had a very prolific music video career. And she did the remake of Gun Crazy with Drew Barrymore. I have not seen it, but I'd be curious to watch it. Same with Mildred Pierce. It's like 2 movies with a sort of very strong female character, and I think in the way that it would have been updated for the time would tell you a lot about what, you know, feminist ideas about the original are. But I can't imagine it's
unlike
that
Mildred,
great.
though, is that I'm sorry, I don't remember what her name is in the movie. Annie, or Annie Laurie Star. She's not sympathetic at all. I mean, she's a bad girl. There's nothing good inside there. Mildred was, yes, Mildred crossed the line and did some bad stuff here and there, but her intentions were generally good. Annie is rotten, you know, a rotten apple, selfish, self-serving. She corrupts Bart and leads him down to his death, basically.
But she likes him.
She does, but she was more than willing to drop him if he didn't go along with what she wanted.
Is this a male anxiety picture about providing for a woman in general, even in just a regular marriage?
I think so. I think that's definitely part of it. There's
I did too.
Because I mean that becomes a thing. Can you provide for me or not? And obviously you can't. You can't provide me with what I want. I want nice things. This is not cutting it. And
can you stay sexual? Can you stay rich? Can you improve? I mean, you know what I mean? That's kind of what will you do to keep this going?
For sure. And I mean, and he tries to keep it to the point where he's not going to kill anyone. But of course, she has no qualms about killing people, which is what really sets them apart and what really drives a wedge between them. And then I think partially the other thing is when they go to visit his family, and you can see that. I mean, you wonder at certain times, is she gonna do something to the family? Is she gonna kill his sister or do something to the kids? I mean, she's pretty vicious, and then she wants to kidnap one of the kids at the end too. I mean, that's like all bets are off with her.
John Dahl was gay, perhaps.
I
don't know if that hurt his career or not. Didn't affect his performance. Seems like he's pretty turned on by Peggy Cummins. But he was just not in very many movies, which I think is unfair because he's such a great talent. And to star in a Hitchcock picture, and then he was in Spartacus, but in a very small role in Spartacus. Then a lot of TV stuff, which is too bad.
He died relatively young at age 50.
Yeah, I read that he drank a lot and like he fell down some stairs and hurt himself really bad and died at 50 years old.
Yeah. Died
but he lived
serious fall while visiting London, died of cardiac arrest, a complication of myocarditis.
Vaxxed. Um,
No comment.
no comment. That was a
Oh, it looks like he
facetious
was
joke.
on Perry Mason, multiple episodes.
Yeah, yeah, because he was living with his long roommate.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But they set up a fake, sort of in a Rock Hudson way. They planted fake stories about how he was going out with actresses and stuff. The studios did. But he's terrific. I really like him. I think he's great in Rope. He's great when he wears a toga in Spartacus and Kirk Douglas throws a trident at him.
And he was
But
nominated for an Oscar for The Corn is Green,
right,
which I've
which
never heard of until now.
I feel like he just got blackballed. You know, at this, you know what I mean? Like he wouldn't, you know what I mean? Because he's a terrific actor. Did go from
Yeah.
the Oscar, which he won before this.
Yeah, that was in 1945, and this was what, 1950?
And there's not a lot of
And
credits in between there.
Rope was after that as well.
Right. You know, so yeah, it's too bad. He was a terrific actor.
Some people just can't catch a break, you know.
He's so likable. He has such a great boyish charm to him, you know. And I think Peggy Cummings is likable too. I mean, as a bad seed, which
Oh yeah,
ultimately
no,
has
for sure, for sure.
Yes,
She's definitely likable to the audience, but I mean, in that way that you're supposed to subvert expectations and kind of sympathize and root for this character that's so bad.
right.
But she succeeds in that because she is charming. There's just something very magnetic about her personality. You want to be in the role that John Dahl is in, right? You want to be in that position.
On the
You
adventure.
want her. You want her. I mean, it's like, what can you say? What else can you say about it?
Oh, and I brought up Poverty Road too because there's a great use of economy in shooting that ends up creating terrific effects, like the sequence in the car. Right.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean, I had a photo, but I don't know what to do with it. But like that sequence where they planted the car in the back, and it's an extended, probably 2.5, 3 minute scene shot from one angle behind a car as he goes in to rob a bank, and she stays to, you know, wait, be his getaway driver. Has to distract a police officer and knock him over the head with a pistol before he gets back in. But when they're taking off and those bells are ringing inside the bank and they slowly fade away, you know, you don't get a lot of like diegetic sound with Doppler effects back in the 40s, right? That sort of realism of as you drive away, you know, this sounds stupid, but like that didn't happen very often back then, right? That's like such a touch of realism. It's terrific. And I just love that turn of her as she looks to see if they're being pursued. And then the camera pushes in on her, right? And she just has this crazy smile and always this terrific red lipstick, right? No, we're not being followed, right? It's a standout, spectacular, amazing sequence. And done because they didn't have the money. They shot it in like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. And Joseph H. Lewis, who directed this movie, was not a big director by any means, but I think has been a little bit more appreciated in recent years. He also did The Big Combo, which I started watching. Really, I started watching, but I couldn't finish it. Not because it was bad. It was just that it's too late at night when I tried to watch it.
I have seen The Big Combo before. I tried to rewatch it, couldn't finish it, fell asleep. But it's very hard to find streaming wise. It's easy to find, but not in a really good looking format. I was watching it in like
I got the Blu-ray for it. So.
Oh, you did? Okay, I watched like a VHS transfer on Amazon Prime.
No.
It was terrible. But The Big Combo is actually
our friend Brian Donlevy in it.
You're right, dude. That guy's so awesome.
Like the Brian Donlevy, like he's like, where's Waldo now?
What a trooper.
Brian and he plays the guy with the hearing aid, right?
Yes.
That's that movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Donlevy. You know, just the great McGinty, which I've not
he's
seen.
Like, where's Waldo popping up everywhere now?
This movie. Yeah.
Some guy I'd never heard of before we watched Quatermass, and now he's like in everything.
Someone who I didn't heard of after I saw Quatermass. Right?
Oh, fun fact, Joseph H. Lewis also directed a movie that a Poverty Row Bela Lugosi monogram film called Invisible Ghost, which if you ever have the chance to see is it's quite an interesting watch. It's a terrible movie, but there is no invisible ghost in the movie. But
Well, how did this guy make a terrible movie? This is a
It's not
great
terrible.
movie.
It's one of the
Yeah.
best. It's one of the best Monogram Lugosi films, of which there are 9.
It's called Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn Invisible Man.
No,
Is
no,
that
no,
what
no,
it's?
no. The
Oh, okay.
Invisible Ghost. Um, Unfortunately, the Kino Blu-ray is out of print, and I'm so glad that I picked that one up a while ago
It
because it's
no,
like,
isn't that Kino's MO? Don't they do only like one print run and it's over with?
yeah, either that or they. I mean, there's no rights for this because this is a public domain movie, so
Oh, okay.
I
What
don't know
the
what that's
Invisible
about.
Ghost?
Yeah, they should just be like the Warner Archive, which is they manufacture it on demand. You know,
As opposed to a
like
visible
printing up
ghost?
so many that people know a visible ghost. Well, there's
Yeah.
no well, the ghost in the movie is someone who's I think still alive, if I recall correctly. It's
Great
like he's like
poster.
a rich guy that thinks his wife is dead, but she's actually not dead. She has like amnesia, and she lives in underneath the mansion that he lives in, and like she goes and wanders around at night, and he thinks that he sees her, and he goes crazy and starts murdering people in the house because of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
it's definitely worth a watch. I mean,
Yeah, Jane
if you love
Eyre.
Lugosi, which I
Well, we
do.
should do a Bela Lugosi show.
Oh yeah, we'll do the Monogram
You know what
property,
we
bro.
should do? We should do broke down uh, films from former great actors,
Oh yeah, I
like The
mean,
Man with the Two Heads or whatever with Ray Milland.
oh my god,
You know what I mean?
yes.
How the Mighty Have Fallen episode. I bet that'll be a huge hit because
Yeah,
anytime you just talk shit, like we're over here like exalting great films and everyone's like, boring. But when you start talking about dog shit, they're like, let's go. You know?
there's some whatever happened to Baby Jane like knockoffs that came after that with other former once great stars. I mean, what do you go? Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte is like the good one because that's Betty Davis and Olivia de Havilland. But there's ones with like Shelley Winters and other like
Oh, poor
weird.
Shelley Winters.
It's like they all have those crazy titles like Whatever Happened to or you know what I mean. They're like
Maybe a
a
rip
whole
off
genre.
episode.
What's
Like
that?
like a rip off episode, like if we watched like William Girdler, famed director of Manitou and Grizzly, another favorite of this show. If we watched his like Abby, which was the black exploitation
Oh my
exorcist, like
god,
that
yes.
would be a great episode of rip offs. And we should go bottom of the barrel on this show.
Yeah, and Karloff certainly made a lot of stinkers later in his
Right.
career too. Have you ever seen Frankenstein 1970?
Was that a Hammer film?
No, it's a independent like 50s. It's made in like the 50s, and they were like in the far off year 1970, and it's like
Oh.
Karloff just doing the worst performance ever.
It looks to me like a dog is billed second. So that's not a good sign. But oh no, sorry, that's just when I search Frankenstein
Don Redberry.
when I searched Frankenstein 1970, I see Jaina Lund, but like there was a giant like golden retriever. So I don't know if there was some Lassie tie-in or something going on there, like a famous dog,
Oh my god.
And then Tom Duggan, I don't know what the fuck he's up to. And anytime you've got Don, quote unquote, Red Berry, the guy with the little nickname,
Yeah.
it's a good sign.
Oh my god, speaking of really bad. I posted on Twitter. I bought that DVD collection of Monogram westerns from like the 30s and 40s. Man, those are tough to watch. Those are really, really like Jimmy Wakely. Like these movies are bad, man.
You are a glutton for punishment, brother.
I just find these things so fascinating that they exist.
Right.
And there's 9 volumes of that set, Monogram Cowboys. There's 9 volumes with like 8 or 9 films in each set. Okay.
I was reading through my copy of, I'm trying to find, I think I took it upstairs, but there's a Les Daniels book on Batman that was designed by Chip Kidd. It's pretty good. And he talks about the Batman serial, and I'm like, should I watch that?
No.
Don't. It's bad.
It's pretty bad because I think I mentioned it before. It's a Columbia serial. Columbia serials are trash. I mean, you have to if you're gonna watch a serial, it has to be a Republic cereal. Those are like
Okay.
grade A, top-notch cereals. So the ones that I highly recommend, my favorites are Adventures of Captain Marvel, which is Shazam. That's really, really good cereal. And Daredevils of the Red Circle, which is
Oh, yeah.
phenomenal.
Okay.
And that
You
was
told me
on
about that.
Blu-ray from Kino, and it's out of print now, which is like a shame.
No.
So I don't know if it's still, if you can get it used, like how much it is.
Great title.
Oh, it's so good. And it's like pure comic book pulp, action adventure. Very thrilling, very easy to watch, fast paced.
Just great stuff.
Let's see. Ooh, $45. There's a DVD for $13.
Oh, now this is why I haven't moved up to the 4K UHD or whatever fake bullshit.
It's not fake.
Because Blu-ray looks good enough to me, man. I mean, like I watch a DVD and I'm like, I need that Blu-ray.
It just depends on certain movies, the 4K. Like,
well, we heard from our friend the who we want to have on the show, the Damn Fool Idealistic Crusader, that he was very upset with the Maltese Falcon 4K UHD.
I thought it looked good.
You don't know shit.
I have the 4K for Maltese Falcon. I watched it. I mean, it looked okay to me, but what do I know?
You don't know anything. Apparently it was a giant pile of shit from what he said. So, I mean, apparently you're just going to want to, cut your wrists every 3 seconds.
That doesn't appreciate or know what I'm being fed garbage, and I just enjoy it.
I know, dude. I know. Dude, this guy's gonna think we're the biggest goons of all time. I'm gonna be like, hey, encoding. What are you talking about? He's gonna be like, oh my god, you slop beast, you're just eating your slop. I'm like, yeah.
You
don't ruin it for me.
What did he say one time? You Philistine or something like that?
Yeah, man. Like if I were working in like the home video department of any studio, I'd live in fear of this man. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Meticulous breakdown.
Good, though. I mean, I wish I had that level of knowledge.
Yeah, I don't.
I do not.
Because I want to talk to him and I want to just ask extremely rudimentary questions. Because I've yet to find a video on his page that says like, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean?
What I would like to know is where does he get the information about some of these things?
Because he watches all these movies like 10 times. This guy has the Click Adam Sandler remote. He stops time and just watches fucking 15 movies no problem. Right? Do you know what I mean?
He must have some background in that industry. I mean, there has to be. I mean, it can't be 100% hobby. Can't be 100% hobby. I mean,
because he'll say stuff like, "Oh my god, the 2006 DVD reissue had way better sound," and it's like, okay.
I can't tell the difference. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, lost on me. Yeah, I guess. I mean, he has very, very, very exacting standards, which I find really fascinating.
I more power to him.
He's an autodidact.
I also find it fascinating. It seems like an avid Laserdisc collector too, which is very cool. I
want to have him on, and I want to say, explain the history of home video formats. Right. Explain to me why anyone would want to go back and watch a Laserdisc. I'm sure there's a perfectly good reason, but like, explain to me why. Is it just collecting? I mean, does he find there to be anything interesting?
I've found Laserdisc collect. I mean, I've thought about it and I've tried to dabble in it. I mean, there's something very appealing about buying those giant LP size records that are the discs that have that very different artwork that you're not expecting with the square artwork which would be like the VHS cover. I don't know. There's something cool about it. It's just very. I mean, VHS collecting is also in vogue these days. So
which I do have some VHSs, and when I made my short film, I taped it to VHS and sold it as a VHS tape. That was the only format I wanted people to watch it on, because I actually thought it looked kind of good, and it like disguised everything bad about the sound and picture of the movie, and like it kind of worked like with the theme of it. So like it was cool. I bought a bunch of box sets of Highlander the series at an antique shop and taped over them with my movie.
wow.
But it was a fun process and kind of interesting. I had to hook a DVD player into an old analog TV and then hook a VHS player into that and play the DVD on the TV and then record it on the VHS player, which was an interesting hack. We got Battle Elf. First comment of the night. Wow, boy, this has been a flop. 2 scoops like Trump. All right, bro. Thanks. I don't know what that means.
I don't
Is
know
that
what that
Prince?
means.
Is that
I don't
Prince?
know.
That his
I'm a little confused.
Or
I
Frida
was going to say
Kahlo?
the VHS thing. Did you have a lot of VHS? A lot of
As a
movies?
kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got rid of them all though. Like when DVD came out.
See, I didn't have very many movies, like adult, not adult movies, but you know what I mean, like real movies. Most of the VHS, I still have them all. They're all like cartoons or TV shows or something like that. I was big into that. So we'll have like all the X-Men cartoon videos. It was like each one was its own separate tape. All the Batman animated series, the Scooby-Doo, Flintstones, things like Ninja Turtles, whatever else, things like that. Mostly with the VHS they have.
We had that. My mom was a very prolific buyer of home video. And so like that was how I kind of got into movies. Was when I got old enough to babysit my brothers, my parents went out, I would just watch Howard's End, or like she really liked those Merchant Ivory movies, like Room with a View. And then she would have shit like Reservoir Dogs and Casino and just stuff like that. Like anything that was like a cool like film for adults, like Last of the Mohicans, stuff they don't really make anymore. Movies that were for your parents to go see when you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
And so I would watch a lot of those when I was like 11 or 12. That was a big thing. I didn't care they were on VHS, but
that was what was around. I mean,
yeah.
I still remember buying the X-Men movie on VHS. So, but like the other movies that I had that were like real movies, I remember because it'd be like after I'd go to Universal, and as a little kid, I didn't know what Jaws was or King Kong or Earthquake or all these things, and I would say like, well, what are these movies? And so my parents would buy me the video, and we'd have Earthquake, a Jaws series, like the 70s King Kong, the Back to the Future series, which came in a very nice box set, and those were like mainly the real movies that I had as a kid on video.
I remember my mom, and I miss video sections at like Target and Best Buy, which are going.
Oh yeah, I was at Target the other day, and I don't even think they have a movie section anymore.
I don't think
it's
they do either.
Pitiful, because it's an easy gift. Also, that's an easy gift idea for people. I
mean, it was a great gift, great stocking stuffer. I still ask for. I'm like, hey, give me.
That's what I'm getting for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm getting Blu-rays and 4Ks and books, but
that's something else too. Criterion started on Laserdisc, and you could only get them on Laserdisc. They weren't on VHS because they would have audio commentaries, because you could flip audio tracks on a Laserdisc, and you could not do that on VHS. Right.
Yeah.
And I know some of the special features on films, like I think King Kong is the first Criterion film released. And I think on a lot of those, there are some special features you can only still watch on Laserdisc, or some commentaries you can only get on Laserdisc from Criterion.
Well, our friend would know.
He would definitely know. Okay, we've put off for far too long our final film.
Yes. We have an explanation for the 2 scoops. The picture you have up, and this is part 2 of Film Noir, hence 2 scoops. It looks like he looks like he's got 3 scoops, though. Does he not?
He does. He's got 3. He's got 3. Okay. Kiss Me Deadly, Mickey Spillane, huge author. I guess I don't know if this is apocryphal, but in the Criterion pamphlet it says that at one point in time he had written 7 of the top 10 best-selling novels in America.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Huge.
I don't even realize sometimes that there's stuff written on those. Sorry.
On what? Oh, the comments?
On those booklets. Those booklets inside the
you don't read? Oh, dude, I love those. They give me a big thick booklet with a nice academic essay in there. I'm like, let's go. Time to get my new opinion. No, Criterion's great about that. This is a beautiful booklet for the Kiss Me Deadly Blu-ray. I mean, look at this. It's so cool.
Yes.
I mean, it's awesome. So they did a great job with it. This is an awesome movie.
Mm-hmm.
My wife hated it.
Why?
She thought that She thought that my dude was a bad guy.
Well, he's not a bad guy. He's rough, he's tough, he's kind of playing fast and loose, but he's not a bad guy. He's a
Robert
good
Aldrich
guy.
thought he was a bad guy. Because this movie is very much in the line with like Starship Troopers, where it's supposed to be an indictment of the thing, but instead it makes the thing look awesome. You know?
Yeah,
Um,
no, Mike Hammer is a cool dude, and he's yes, he's doing things probably for the wrong reasons, but I don't know. It's
because
very
Aldrich said, "Oh, this is a fascist movie, a fascist script," and they actually took Mike Hammer
what?
because in the books he's a private eye, but they were like, "No, let's make him a divorced dick, like a guy who just kind of peeps on people and fuck." You know what I mean? Like they're like, "Let's make him a bigger scumbag," but like it doesn't work because he's like Ralph Meeker's like super cool.
Who we saw 20 years later in Kolchak. Remember?
That's right, almost unrecognizable. And I remember we
Yeah,
talked about this movie then. I was like, "Oh, Kiss Me Deadly, let's go!"
he's
Right?
in the Night Stalker, I think, the first one.
Incredibly cool, pulpy, genre bending film that I think features more overtly something that informs film noir throughout its entire lifespan. This film is from 55, which is where a lot of people find the cutoff for film noir. But I think there's a huge unspoken fear and anxiety of the bomb in a lot of
Mm,
film noir movies, especially ones that take place in a city. When I was reading this book somewhere in the night, the author made a great point about how it opened up a new reality where you could be just completely vaporized at any time. And the cities became even more dangerous place to be and a more anonymous place to be. And this movie takes the idea of the bomb head on and inspired Pulp Fiction's ending. It inspired the Pulp Fiction briefcase in the process. What do you think?
yes, I would say film noir enters the atomic age with this movie in a very blunt way. I was not expecting that to be the payoff. The first time I watched this, I had no idea what I was in store for. I mean, I'd seen this now. This was the second time I watched this, preparing for this stream tonight. But the first
Yeah.
time, I was never in a million years would I have guessed that there was going to be some kind of radioactive material inside the box. And I mean, obviously, it's played to the most dramatic effect possible, where at the end she has a Raiders of the Lost Ark moment there, and she literally is
Explodes
in,
into flames. Yeah.
and it's played so like over the top, and I loved it though. Like she's like screaming her head off, and she's clearly like a mannequin on fire. But it's so good. It's so good.
The movie
Um,
is incredibly sadistic and violent.
yes.
I mean, I was watching it again and I go, oh my God. Like the part when the guy's tailing him and he like grabs him and he goes, drop the knife and he punches him twice and he slams his head against a cement block. I was like, Jesus Christ. And he twists that
Yeah.
guy's hand and then kind of smiles like he's
Ooh.
enjoying it. You're like, wow,
How about
this
at
is
the
a
pool house when we don't even see what he does to what that one guy. He has a funny name. Funny
great name, Sugar Small House.
yes. We don't even see what he does to
One of
him,
the best.
and he
Yeah.
is out cold. So,
Um,
but you feel no mercy for these. Mike Hammer may not be the most altruistic person in the world, but you can relate to him and you can sympathize with him in his plight. But the other people in the movie are so bad, so evil, so just disgusting that you at least relish in his like retribution to them for payback for what they did to him and what they did to Christina, the girl that gets murdered at the beginning, played by
which
Cloris Leachman.
there should be some kind of term for that kind of character too, which is not a film noir, but like sort of an enticing female character that is the setup. You know what I mean? Like she
Yep.
brings the guy into the story. She's not evil, but she's
No.
sort of this enticing female character. I guess I'm not a big perm guy, but I mean, I just think about the part where she's being tortured. I was like, oh my God.
Ooh. And
You just see her
all
legs.
you see are the feet. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
it's
God, crazy.
brutal.
So yeah, basically Ralph Meeker, Mike Hammer picks up I remember there was a James Bond TV advertisement that said that James Bond makes Mickey Spillane look like a grandmother, right? As in like he puts to shame all of Mickey Spillane's hard-edged heroes. But he's cool. He picks up a gal in his really cool car, and we get like terrific, lockdown cameras on the back and front of the car. And we get real driving, and it's like really a pretty neat effect, right? Picks up this girl, covers for her when she says she escaped from a madhouse, but she's looking for something. Then they get cornered by some bad guys who we don't see, and she's tortured and murdered, and he escapes with his life after they stage their demise, right? And then from there, he goes on to investigate exactly what's going on, which leads him to a mysterious briefcase and a whole lot of other issues. But I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. But Battle Elf says, almost as shocking as hearing George is married to a live woman, allegedly. Stress allegedly. I can make up whatever I want. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't remember.
If it can happen to me, it can happen to you, bro. Keep trying. Go ahead.
Yeah. At a presidential moment. Yeah, I mean, this movie is brutal. This movie is totally different than all the others that we've talked about tonight. In that, what I was saying is that it feels very mean. It feels very visceral. Yeah. Like there's something you can kind of feel it like under your skin, like the anxiety of what's going to happen next. Anything's on the table, right? I mean, people come and go. People get killed very casually.
Yes.
For no reason other than they just get in the way. I mean, in fact, it's when I say it's brutal, I mean he survives the car crash that's meant to kill him with the dead girl in the car. But yes. When he doesn't, the killers, they call him up and they say, "Hey, how about you just forget about everything?" And he could have just said, "Okay." He doesn't really say he's not going to forget about it, but and they're like, "We're going to give you a gift tomorrow." And of course, there's a bomb in the car connected to the starter, and then there's another bomb connected to the odometer. And it's like, well, it's like now he has to. Now you've just incentivized him even more to come after you. If you just left him alone, he probably would have gone on his way and none the wiser. But you keep enticing him to keep looking more and more because there's something there that they don't want him to find. And what do you want? You got a detective on your trail.
Exactly. And I think Ralph Meeker is really cool. I mean, I like him a lot as an actor. It's too bad he didn't do more. He was in a film called The Naked Spur with Jimmy Stewart, which is a great revisionist Western where he plays the foil to Jimmy. A great movie. I would say Jimmy Stewart's The Searchers. If Jimmy Stewart were seriously, it's kind of like his revisionist Western, come to Jesus kind of a thing. But no, this movie's badass. And that's really, I'm trying to think if you have anything else to touch on about it. I mean, it's pretty neat. And the way it sort of confronts the idea of nuclear war and nuclear Armageddon is interesting. Also, there are a lot of parallels with this movie. And if you've seen David Lynch's Lost Highway, the hidden, obscure cabin that everyone returns to be tortured or killed, very similar to the climax of that movie. You seen Lost Highway?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should. You like David Lynch?
Yeah, I mean, not everything. I think we've had this talk.
Okay, before. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, you should see Lost Highway, but go ahead.
I was going to say also, interestingly, our climax takes place at a very similar beach house as in Mildred Pierce, where everything comes unraveling down. Of course, this ends with a more explosive finale, unlike that film. But
does the world end?
I really, really like this. It subverts your expectations. It offers something more to think about than just, politics in the city or gangsters or family drama. There's higher stakes involved here. What are they planning to do with that radioactive material? They're planning to sell it. They're planning to use it. We don't know. And of course, the femme fatale here, who I don't even remember. Did they ever tell you what her real name is?
No, it keeps changing. Yeah.
It keeps changing because she's imitating the roommate of Cloris Leachman, who then, throws herself at Mike Hammer to protect her. But of course, she's not really the roommate. The roommate was found in the river several days before and unbeknownst to him. And she's been playing him the entire time and uses him to track down the package. So she is, and she is merciless as well, and she backstabs and 2 times her boss, who's this. I mean, I feel like we could have used a little bit more backstory or info on this Dr. Soberin, who's
Right.
like kind of just comes out of left field. And what is his connection to all this? Like, is he just a broker or a con man? Like, what's his deal? Like,
You know, these were things that I think I read a great quote from Robert Altman, who did a remake of The Long Goodbye with Elliot Gould, which is really good from 1973. If you can check it out. Poorly received at the time because it wasn't really a great adaptation of Chandler and wasn't really a great remake of a, it wasn't the Marlowe of Bogart, right? But it's a great movie. And Altman said he was drawn to film noir detectives because what he called them were thumbnail essays on specific elements of life. And the plot that strung them together did not matter, right? But it's about the detective, like Spillane here, like a lot of great detectives, like Sam Spade, is someone who transcends class, as we've talked about, to where he can hang out at the boxing gym. He can hang out with his Italian car guy, Vavroom, or whatever, who sadly is exploded, right? Or dies.
Nick, right?
Or tortured. Yeah. What do they drop the car on him?
They drop the car on him. Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess Soberin does it himself because we see the I guess they're the blue suede shoes that every time, right? He was
yes.
implicated at the torture scene with the girl. We always see the tips of the shoes for this guy, and not until the end do we realize that who it is. But that's the thing, is like in the Maltese Falcon, you mentioned Sam Spade. Like, we get an idea of who that kind of collection of criminals and ne'er-do-wells are that are all after the bird, and you get a sense of they want that bird because it's valuable. They're going to sell it. Okay, motivations are very clear, explicit, not very complicated, and that's fine. And it's not about that. It's about the process. Here, I mean, I feel like we don't know the antagonists at all, and we kind of get shoehorned in at the end. And I'm not a big stickler for stuff like this, but I think it would have helped flesh it out because I felt myself a little confused by who all the players were at different times and what they were doing other than just obtaining a box, which is fine, but it makes it a little bit more impactful.
I got a quote for you. The script was written by a guy named Bezarides. Okay. And he said he wrote it fast. It was automatic writing. Things were in the air at the time, and I put them in. Now, you talk about this sort of obfuscation of who's after this thing, what do they want, what's their motivation. This is sort of a reflection of the political change, I think, after World War II, that we get the introduction of the CIA. We get the introduction of, like, the war footing has shifted to spying. It's shifted to clandestine bureaucracy, right? Things don't make sense, right? Nuclear Armageddon can be kicked off through just like haphazard circumstances of Mike Hammer tooling around town, right? I think that is kind of the idea. That's like the sort of nascent, emerging idea of this film, right? And why it doesn't necessarily, I guess, make sense from a plot perspective.
It doesn't matter. I mean, but it's just, I'm just saying it would have been nice, I think, to illuminate the villain a little bit more, to have it more impactful.
The other thing I like about all these guys, these detective characters, is I love their contempt for the police, but how they sort of like operate, in line with them, sort of adjacent to them, but that they can be brought in to be, questioned and just have total contempt for the operation, right? They're kind of like more the police than the police, like better than them, right? If you're,
how much can I get away with before I call them, before I have to tell them what I know, before I have to ask for their help?
Great way to put it. How much of a cowboy can I still be in modern America?
Yes. Right. And if you watch Perry Mason, and I'm reading the novels now too, that's a common thread and a common through line through all of those too, is that they're always trying to subvert the police, and he knows just how far he can push the line because he's an attorney, and then at certain times he has to capitulate and kind of just put his cards on the table and tell them, because now he's in deep water there.
He's in deep, yeah. No, it's a good movie, man. It's a good one to end on, I think.
Definitely. I really like this one a lot too. It's not my favorite of the lot, but I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Kind of a little proto James Bond energy going on here, as you can see from all of the promotional stills. All had to do with the women of Mike Hammer, right? Yep. Reminds me of that Only Live Twice poster where Bond is being bathed by various women in China or Japan.
It's funny that I recognize Cloris Leachman only from her voice because she's so young here that I did not know that was her. But then I heard her voice and I'm like, is that her? And then I look at it, it's her. She's the girl at the beginning. Of course, she was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show and many other things.
I do not have. I know I've heard that name before, but I don't have the. Oh, okay.
And she's a native.
Oh yeah, Young Frankenstein.
She's a native
from Des Moines.
Yeah. Yeah, you never watched
from Des Moines.
You never watched the Mary Tyler Moore Show?
Mike Hammer wasn't married. No, he was a confirmed bachelor with a voicemail, reel to reel, which would have been some big shit back then, dude.
Who's the lady on the recording though, and how does she know that he doesn't have any messages when he gets home?
Wasn't that his gal, Vera? His
what is she? Where is she recording that from, or what is she? How does she know? Did she go to his apartment, and why does she need to record that? There's
no his apartment's like his office. It's like his it's his hang. It's his pad.
But then, what if somebody called while he was out after she left? How would she not? How would she know that there's no new messages?
It was new tech. It impressed everybody at the time. You're not impressed. You're a Philistine. Whatever.
I love that. I mean, come on. Does that not look like the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark there?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Absolutely, it does.
And that's what I liked about this. It's not afraid to take that next level into like the space age here, and I'm all for that. Throwing in that otherworldly. I mean, it's real. It's of this world, but it's fanciful to that regard.
I mean, even this costume that she's wearing looks like some, Things to Come style, or like Captain Marvel style. You know what I mean? Like a space cadet outfit almost.
Oh, how about at the beginning? You have the photo of her stopping the car. I mean, it's implicitly stated, but she's completely naked under that trench coat.
Right, because they have that back and forth with the grease monkey guy at the gas station where he's like, "Oh, you pulled over to the side of the road, huh? Got a little wood stuck in your car, pulling over to the side of the road." Right? There's that kind of right.
Yeah.
With the trench coat.
All right.
Wow, we have 5 guys going just into. Oh, not 2. Never mind.
What?
I tuned out. Nothing. I was looking at the eyeball at the top of the screen that tells you how many people you have watching.
And they all dipped out.
Yeah, Battle Elf. Thanks for stopping by, brother. What else you got? Can we wrap this up succinctly and tell the audience what they've gone on this journey with us? Not as long as the Hammer journey, but I think it was a nice primer. These would be good intro films for you from a film noir perspective.
Oh, for sure. I think all 8 of the films that we talked about. I mean, you may hate me for saying, but I wouldn't put The Glass Key at the top of these. But
maybe that was a poor choice. I apologize.
I think it was good to talk about, but I wouldn't put it up there as that
movie.
I know you do. I know you do. But like,
we could have watched Maltese Falcon. Yeah.
Yeah, I would put the Maltese Falcon in place of that as one to watch for sure.
DOA is one that I like. The Big Clock. I'm planning on doing a solo video review of The Big Clock, which is good.
And I think I mentioned for Orson Welles. Did you see The Stranger?
No, I've not seen The Stranger.
Okay, it's very good. I think he also directed it as well. But it's him playing a escaped Nazi who comes to America and hides out in like rural small town America to start a new life. And Edward G. Robinson is like a G-man who's on the trail of this guy and, is out to expose him and take him out. So it's very good. And then you wonder, is Orson Welles going to kill his wife, who starts to become suspicious that he may be this escaped Nazi.
Oh.
So that's a really good one. And then also Edward G. Robinson in Woman in the Window is another one that I really, really liked. That was one of the other ones I watched at the like the first ones I watched when I was getting into that with Joan Bennett.
Yeah, I'm looking through lists here. And of course, we talked about how there are ones we disagreed with, like Notorious. I wouldn't have thrown that in there.
That's so much. That's Notorious is hard to put in a category. It's like It's like a romance melodrama suspense picture. I mean,
Yeah, the Blue Dahlia. Maybe that would have been a better Alan Ladd one to watch with Veronica Lake. That's pretty good.
would you say Suspicion is more noir than? I mean, I think that's more noir than
Yes.
Notorious. I wouldn't put Suspicion as a noir, but I think as for Hitchcock, Suspicion is much more in that style than Notorious.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Killers from 1946, not bad, but the remake from 64 is better. Have you seen that?
Is that the one with Ronald Reagan? Or
Yes, it's so
okay?
good.
That's the only film where he plays a villain, I think, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
it's scary. He's really good. That's a great. With John Cassavetes as the lead, and then we have uh, Policewoman.
Oh, Ronald Reagan films. That's another
Oh
idea.
boy, Bedtime for Bonzo.
Have you ever seen Newt Rockney, American Hero, or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I didn't understand it. I had a bunch of yeah, it's a terrible fucking movie. I'm with you. It's terrible, and like he just like dies for no reason, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this guy?
That's where the give one for the Gipper. Or,
yeah, let's do it for the Gipper or whatever.
Yeah,
I had a couple of uncles and aunts that went to Notre Dame, and they were like, oh, Newt Rockney is a badass, and I was like, I guess he just died from like alcohol poisoning. Like that's how he died.
I don't remember. Like, I almost couldn't finish it.
No, they don't tell you that in the movie because it's like embarrassing. So like it's just he just dies. You know, he lost really the will to live Padme style.
Years and years ago, probably around 2000, 2001, something like that, when I went to California for the first time and went on the Warner Brothers studio tour. Back then, they used to have an entire wall and section devoted to Ronald Reagan and his films and his photos and everything. And then when I went back, like, I don't know, 15 years later or something like that, it was all gone. It's all Harry Potter, It's like so sad they got rid of all that because it's part. He was one of the studio's major stars, One
of the most important Americans.
Yeah, but I mean, he was a star at that studio, and those movies are all terrible. But
I don't know if he was ever in like a great.
He was in Dark Victory with Bette Davis as in a supporting role, and that's probably one of the best movies he's in. You ever seen that?
No, I have not.
It's really good. She plays a woman who's like going blind and losing her sight throughout the entire picture. And at the end, I think she actually does go blind, but it's her like emotional struggle and things like that.
Well, what's the big movie he's very famous for Where's the Rest of Me or whatever?
For what?
Where he loses his legs. Where's the rest of me? Right?
I don't remember.
No, that's like his big famous line, isn't it?
Oh,
Law and Order.
Law and Order. He doesn't lose his legs, and I've seen that one. That's
no, it's not that. I'm reading off his filmography here.
Law and Order.
That wouldn't be a bad show to do, actually.
I'm trying to remember. Law and Order. It's like the same movie as it's like been remade like 100 times. It's like the same movie made over and over again, but I can't remember which other Western it is aping. I'd have to see it again, but that one's really good. I did enjoy Law and Order. It's a nice Technicolor Reagan film with, I think they loaned him out to Universal for that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to see
the other thing I was thinking about, which would be a really good topic, would be Abbott and Costello.
I'd love to do that.
What? Yeah.
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
And not just the monster films. I mean, because that's just too easy. Like some of the other films.
Yeah, like what?
Well, I wouldn't put Hold That Ghost as a monster film, but sort of in that style. But Hold That Ghost is really good. One of the ones I really like is Abbott and Costello meet the Keystone Cops. That's a really fun one.
Okay.
Because it's like kind of like movie based. They're filming a movie. There's a lot of cameos and things like that.
Sounds fun. I know you like. Do you like Scooby Doo?
Love it.
Would you ever want to do a Scooby Doo like meets Don Knotts and meets Phyllis Diller and Batman and all that shit? Yeah.
The new Scooby Doo movies. Yeah.
Battle Elf. I was gonna make fun of your ass. I was gonna say, yeah, you're gonna go No Country for Old Men #5. Miller's Crossing we talked about last week. That's a great movie, no doubt about it.
We can do Scooby Doo after the Johnny Quest Space Ghost one.
My favorite cartoons.
my favorite one for the Scooby-Doo team-ups, I mean, it's got to be the Batman and Robin one.
That's
It's
awesome.
like, I mean, there's two of them. The best one, though, is the one where they're in the campgrounds with the Joker and the Penguin are trying to steal the flying suit. That's the best one.
Okay.
And then my other favorite one is the Davy Jones one, where he has
that sounds cool.
like the mansion in England, and there's a there's a not a headless horseman, a Black Knight on horseback that's like haunting the castle.
With Davy Jones from the Monkees.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he sings a
Let me
song.
see who are all the guests.
So there's, I mean, I remember these off the top of my head. There's the real live people, and then there's the people that were just like cartoon characters and like dead celebrities. So like
Sandy Duncan.
Yeah, Sandy Duncan. They did Sonny and Cher, Dick Van Dyke, Mama Cass.
She died. They did a Mama Cass.
Mama Cass was alive though at that time. I mean, this is like 73 or so. I mean, so she was still alive.
The Harlem Globetrotters, I remember that one.
But they were not. Those are not the real. Those are just voice actors.
Yeah.
Same with the Three Stooges and Laurel and Hardy and people like that. They're dead. Jerry Reed. Jerry Reed's in there.
Jerry Reed, yeah. What? There was a meet Jerry Reed?
Not Harry Reid, Jerry Reed.
That's what I said. Yeah, not Harry Reid, the
I
senator.
Said Harry Reid, like Senator Harry Reid. I don't think he was famous enough.
No, Jerry Reed from Smokey the Bandit.
Yeah, and he sings a song as well. He sings "The Pretty Mary Sunlight." So Sonny and Cher one is really good, actually. I think is that the one with? No, that's the shark god one. Yeah. And then there's the cool ones where they meet other Hanna-Barbera characters like Josie and the Pussycats, and the Speed Buggy Gang.
Yeah, meet Sonny and Cher. It looks awesome.
Yeah. Sandy Duncan one's pretty good. Oh, Phyllis Diller. That's a good one. Don Knotts, like he said. Oh, Don Adams from Get Smart.
Okay.
That's a good one. He plays an exterminator. There's so many good ones. I used to love that. And it's like all those celebrities were like has-beens then.
I know. Like I knew who like Don Knotts was, but when we were like kids watching Boomerang, it'd be like Jerry Reed. I was like,
yeah, today Scooby-Doo meets Phyllis Diller. And it's like, who?
Yeah.
I mean, she was still alive even then. Like when we were watching these, like she only died not that long ago, and she would still be like around, but it's like, man, these references are way old, and I learned about all these things though.
Professor Hyde White. That's the one I remember the most.
That's the first episode. What a Night for a Night.
Is it?
Yeah, Professor Hyde White is the guy that is the professor that gets kidnapped, and they find him like stuffed behind a plant or something like that.
Scooby-Doo is cool.
Yeah, I love it. I know way too much about it.
Do you ever listen to that bald guy on the internet who talks about Scooby-Doo all the time?
Is it the Scoobypedia? There's a channel. It's like okay.
Yeah, he like talks about Scooby-Doo all the time. He like loves Scooby-Doo.
There's a couple channels out there, but I don't know. I really should do something.
This guy's
like I got too much stuff to do. It's like.
Yeah, I feel you, brother.
I feel like I did a disservice to myself, like not focusing on. I want to do too many different topics.
I get
it. It actually undercuts like the growth of the channel. Like I should be doing like cartoons, or I should be doing Scooby-Doo, or I should be doing only this. And it's like, no, I want to do everything, but then I end up doing nothing.
I know what you mean, and like I'm trying to figure out. Like I had one movie in mind, but I got a lot of followers recently from that Conan the Barbarian video.
Oh yes, congratulations! By the way,
thank you. That was huge. For my show.
It's still going too.
Yeah, yes, which is cool. I'm kind of waiting for it to peter out, but it's just very consistent, like 2,000 a day or something, right? But I'm like, well, shit, I want to capitalize on these new followers that like Conan. So like, what do I do next? RoboCop? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
do Conan the Destroyer or do Red Sonja?
I thought about doing Conan the Destroyer.
Red
But I
Sonja
was
would be an interesting choice though, because it's related to that, and it's at least different.
yeah, because I was gonna do the big clock, but then I was like, nobody wants
Oh,
to.
the Conan audience is gonna be like,
They're gonna be like,
"Bye."
don't care. Yeah, so I'm thinking one
Old
of
fuddy-duddy movie, like I
yeah,
want
something I have
80s,
wanted.
my 80s movies, man.
Oh yeah,
Back to
Battle
the
Elf just said
Future.
Kroll. Yeah, I've thought about doing Kroll many times.
Yeah,
Maybe I will, but like I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna do a Planet of the Apes retrospective of the original series.
that's
I've
a good
wanted to do
choice.
that for a long time. It's going to take a lot of research and stuff because I want to talk about the cartoon and the TV show and the comics too.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about that.
Do you have a favorite of those?
I mean, the first one is obviously the best, but of the sequels, I think Beneath is pretty cool. I think they
Really?
get kind of progressively. Actually, you know what? Battle.
Escape.
No, I
Escape.
mean, what's the fourth one with Caesar when he like comes up and it's like this like
Um, I think Battle for the Planet of the
I
Apes.
think Battle's the last one. The fourth one is
Fake Geek Girl moment.
yeah. Let me look it up.
Um,
But I've thought about doing a Planet of the Apes
oh
one
yeah,
for a long
Conquest.
time.
I got Conquest
Conquest.
and Battle mixed up.
That one is really cool and like very dystopic and unique. The third one, not huge on it. Matt says I should probably do
Escape from the Planet of the Apes? That's my favorite. You don't like that one where they come back, where
no,
they go into modern times?
not really. No,
Oh my god, I love that movie. It's
that's the cheap out third one, dude. That's the cheap
it's
out.
amazing. I love it. The social commentary and allegory is phenomenal in that one.
It's not bad. I mean, I don't hate it, but I
I
like the fourth one maybe the better. But I like Beneath the Planet of the Apes a lot. The first one is obviously unparalleled, the best. Matt O'Brien, buddy of mine, says probably should do Conan the Destroyer next. Yeah, I know. Well, thank you. Thanks, Matt. You know, yeah, I probably should to capitalize on the success, but at the same time, like I do this because I like to do it, and I don't want to just start being like, what do I gotta do? You know what I mean? To keep the followers. You know, I kind of just want to do what I want to do.
You should do a reaction first time watching.
First time watching Conan Destroyer. Yeah. You and me just sit there. Oh, he's got a big sword in this one.
Oh my god. It's no shame. I can't stand those things. It's just it drives me nuts. And it's like 500,000 views. Like first time watching RoboCop. And it's like, seriously? Like
you got any interesting comments on that? Yeah, like if I really wanted to take off, man, I'd just start making like, you know, oh, the new Superman is woke.
Oh my god.
Just start bitching or something. You know what I mean? Just do one of those guys.
Kennedy's at it again.
Yeah, God, that Star Wars sucks. Yeah, just do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Disney is in decline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, oh god, you got anything new? Got anything new?
Go woke, go broke.
Yeah, and now that South Park has done it, I don't think we need any more videos online talking about it.
No, we don't.
It's officially hit critical mass, you know?
Exactly. So yeah, Conan the Maid Impregnator.
Yes, that's the real life version.
That is funny.
Ooh, Excalibur, that's a nice choice.
That is a good one. That's a good one. I would be happy to do Excalibur. That would be cool. And I love John Borman too, so that's a pretty unique movie.
For me, I actually have started working on it now. I just ripped the files. I need to get it out before Christmas. This is the Flintstones Christmas special review.
You got to get that out before Christmas, dude. I'm going
to get it out before Christmas. I ripped the files and I recorded the audio. So
my Christmas special. My friend Flintstone. Perfect.
There's surprisingly 4 of them, which it's a lot. I always wonder, what are they celebrating? It's the time before Christ. So how are they
exactly? Yeah.
What are they celebrating on Christmas exactly?
They had all the same shit back then as they had now. Remember that they had a Tony Curtis episode? I remember watching that.
Yeah, the return of Stony Curtis.
Stony Curtis. Yeah, that's right. Stony Curtis. I was going to include that in my Sweet Small Success video, but I opted not to.
That would be a good video. Also, is like Flintstone, just a little review of all the Flintstone guest stars, real people. There's quite a few. I mean, there's Anne Margarock. Yeah. And then the one that was like the most obscure as a kid, I mean, like I knew who Anne Margaret was even as a kid. I mean, and even Stony Curtis and stuff like that. But Hoagie Carmichael always like was like, who is this?
Yeah. He was appointed by the Senate of the United States to be a celebrity.
He
Yeah.
was like a big like jazz guy. And I saw him later in a movie. Have you ever seen Kirk Douglas in Young Man with a Horn?
No.
That's also one I thought about doing a video on. It's a really interesting movie. I think Michael Curtiz also directed that one, if I'm not mistaken. It's
I
got
really, you know what? Maybe what I'm going to do next is Kirk Douglas' Vikings movie
which one is that?
with Stoney Curtis. He made a movie called The Vikings. Yeah, with Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh in it, and it's pretty sweet.
Tony Curtis,
And it was
star
actually
of
and
the Manitou.
the fun thing about the Vikings from the 60s with Stoney Curtis and Kirk Douglas is that it was directed by Richard Fleischer, who then directed Conan the Destroyer.
And I think did he do Red Sonja too? He might have.
I think he did. Matt says, is there an Milius movie you would do? Yeah, Dillinger.
Richard Fleischer is a pretty interesting guy. Did a lot of films, a long career. I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, he did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
which is dope. Dope. Great movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love. I'm totally down for all those Disney
movie.
Those Disney 50s like live action adventure films.
That is a cool movie. I got to see that in a theater.
Treasure Island, also phenomenal. I just watched it recently again, and it holds up. It's really good. What's trash are like the ones that are not adventure films. Like I tried to watch Pollyanna. Don't ask me why. Jane Wyman's in it, so I figured like, oh, it'd be cool. It was so boring. It was so dreadful. I turned it off.
I've done a lot of movies with Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, got that one on Blu-ray. I got that one on Blu-ray.
Old Yeller.
Yeah, I do.
I've actually done a lot of Kirk Douglas. I'm gonna be like the Kirk Douglas channel. Done a bunch of shit with him. Paths of Glory, another great one. God, he made some
else with him in it. What was I watching that he was in?
Yeah, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is dope. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Well, anything with James Mason, right? I mean,
oh yeah, it's Captain Nemo. He's so cool.
Yeah.
His underwater base. Or sort of, you know what I mean? Like that was badass.
I remember the ride existing during like my visits to like the Magic Kingdom as a little kid, but I do not remember going on the ride, like have any experience. Like they had a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride at the Magic Kingdom. But I don't remember it at all, unfortunately.
You know what I would love to have seen that I read about in Starlight Magazine was the, I think it was on the Paramount lot. You could go on a Battlestar Galactica ride for 3 years from like 1978 to 80.
At Universal on the studio tour.
Universal. Yep. Okay.
They had that in one of the it was like one of the major additions to the studio tour. Yeah, and it was like the Cylons like shooting at you and stuff like that. It looked pretty awesome. I mean, I wish
they had like animatronics.
Yeah, I wish I'd been alive during that time. Now they still have the Jaws encounter, and I think the earthquake thing is still there. But the King Kong experience burned down like over a decade ago. Then they had the big fire on the lot. And the clock tower, the Back to the Future clock tower burned down, and the King Kong encounter burned down. Yeah. And now they have that trash Fast and the Furious simulator thing, which they ported over to Florida, and they got rid of Earthquake and Beetlejuice here for that. And it's like the most abysmal ride like ever. Like you literally sit in a bus and there's screens. Yeah, you sit in a party bus, okay? And there's screens on both sides and in the front, and like the most like video game style bad CG graphics of like all the characters flying around and like doing the most ridiculous stunts ever. And then like you don't know what to look at because it's so much stuff. It's like sensory overload, and then it's over. And then it's over, and you're like, "What just happened?"
Kind of like that shitty Millennium Falcon ride at Disney in Florida.
Oh, this is better than that.
Sucked.
That's trash. That's the worst.
It's so bad. It's pathetic.
Did you actually go on the other one though?
No, it broke.
Oh, okay. It's a good ride. It's not worth the wait. But
yeah,
it's still not that great. I mean, it's good. It's based on the sequel trilogy too. So like, who cares?
Yeah, it's all sequel. Everything is there. Everything is.
There's like a Kylo Ren animatronic that like flails around at one scene when like the air chamber decompressurizes and stuff like that.
We just went to the bar, which was kind of fun. Like they
Yeah,
just
but like you had to pay like a lot to get in. It's just to go to that.
yeah, we had to like wait for the bar forever, and then we got in there. But it was kind of fun. They had like guys like pretend like they were in Star Wars serving you beer, so it was okay.
But
I'd love to do a
the aesthetics of
what?
that area are so ugly, though.
They're
It's
bad.
all just a rock
Yeah,
based like tan. I don't get it. I don't get what
looks
we're
like
supposed
Stony
to.
Curtis's hang. Like it looks like a fucking Flintstones or something. Yeah, it does.
It does. I mean, if you go to the
Yeah.
bedrock thing in Arizona, it's probably more interesting than that. You know, there's a bedrock that exists out near the Grand Canyon. This is one of my goals in life is to go there.
Oh, I think I went there as a kid, but it was like closed.
It
There's a
still
bed.
exists. It
There's a
still exists.
Flintstones.
It's like a Flintstones
Flintstones.
village. Yes, you need to get out there.
You got to get there and take a picture with Fred Flintstone.
Yeah,
Dude.
no, I intend to. But yeah, no, it kills me. I think I've mentioned this before. It kills me that Star Wars land and then the Toy Story land that they added to the Hollywood Studios Park here in Florida. What they
Yeah.
not that I care so much, but like what they got rid of to put that there. They got rid of the studio backlot. They got rid of the Hollywood tram tour, like the
Right.
Catastrophe Canyon thing. That was you never build anything like that nowadays, and they destroyed all of that to put this mediocre, subpar,
IP bullshit in there.
Yeah, exactly. And then Toy Story when that's the Slinky Dog roller coaster or whatever. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
I would have been unimpressed as a child by these things.
Right. But you're a sophisticated child.
Yeah.
You know what? I've done a King Kong. I would love to do a King Kong review.
Yes.
93.
Of which one though?
The original.
Okay. What about? I mean, I love the '70s one.
I like the Peter Jackson one a lot.
Oh, I like that one too, but I haven't. To be
Yeah.
fair, I haven't seen that since it came out.
You should rewatch it and watch the director's cut. It's terrific. I think the movie's badass.
I'm gonna need like 3 nights to watch it.
And the fact that he came out with that 2 years after Lord of the Rings is just astounding.
What are your thoughts on these movies that are like 3 hours and something, 3.5 hours long like that? Do you like that or do you not like that? I'm not a huge fan of this.
I like it as a home video consumer. I like it like when it's a popular film and they go, "Hey, you want more?" Like with Lord of the Rings, like let it go, baby. That's cool with me. The extended versions. I love those. The Peter Jackson King Kong. I think it's terrific. I love it.
What about in the theatrical experience though?
I don't know. It just makes it tough to when I was a younger guy, I used to go to movies by myself all the time. But I'm married to a real life woman, ostensibly, allegedly, as Battle Elf says. So like, I got to drag her along to this shit too, and then we have to like make plans and when are we going to eat dinner and what time should we go and oh I have to go to do this, right? So I'm not the freewheeling guy I used to be. Whereas I used to go see 3 movies in a day, right?
Really? I've never done 3 in a day. I've done 2.
Oh shit, yeah. I used to in college. I used to have like not a lot of classes on Friday when I was a freshman, so I just go watch like 3 movies and then just on a Friday and then come back and head to the party or whatever.
Very different college experience than myself.
I remember going to see 7 Psychopaths, Dread, and Looper on the same day, like 2013.
I did see Dread.
Yeah.
I remember that one. I do go to the movies by myself, unfortunately, sometimes because I see movies that no one else wants to see.
And I don't want to be responsible for their good time.
Or lack thereof, right?
Yeah, bring them there and then have them not like it and be like, oh, what kind of movie was that? Like I took a date to go see like Grey Gardens, the documentary. Right? Yeah. She didn't like it. She was like, this is not really a great date thing. And we also saw Only Lovers Left Alive.
Oh my god. I've had horrible theatrical experiences lately though. The post-COVID, I think that the decorum of audiences has just devolved like way worse than it even used to be. It used to be bad before, but like after 2 years of people just watching things at home on their couch, like now thinking that exists in the theater as well. Like the behavior of people is absolutely atrocious. I mean, I told you when I went to see The Holdovers, the guy next to us sounded, well, first of all, there was nobody sitting next to us when we picked the seats. Okay. But then they came and sat right next to us. And the guy was like, first of all, sounded like he was going to die. He was like breathing so heavily, and then he was like burping and belching the whole time too, crinkling the little plastic candy that he clearly brought from outside the theater. And it was like we moved because it was like I can't sit here for 2 hours and listen to this. This is like, and when I went to see Blue Beetle, the girl like at the other side of the row had her screen on the phone on the entire time during the movie.
Oh my God.
And
I can't stand that.
And she wasn't looking at it. She had it like turned sideways, but it was facing me. Like put it facing you. Like put it the other way.
Exactly. Like put it, like hide it or something. Yeah. Don't. Yeah. I know. There, people are so ridiculous. Like it's also the same thing with this sort of advanced boomer mentality of not being able to like turn your fucking phone off ever. And I mean, like it'll be on high ringer and just ring, and then some lady has to dig through her purse for like 2 minutes to find it, and then finally turns it off.
Yeah.
You're like, my God, hit the sleep button on your fucking phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't stand that. Like they get the phone and then you hear it and then it gets louder because they pulled out of their pocket for like 2 minutes before they get it turned off. You know?
When I went with some friends to see Thanksgiving, which was great, by the way. Highly recommend that if you're into slasher movies. I don't remember if I talked about this or not, but man, the guy sitting behind us in the virtually empty theater, by the way, but of course there was somebody sitting behind us. He was very much into the film, and it was a little scary. Let's just say the comments that were being made of the vicariously living through the movie was a little disturbing.
What was he saying? That's how I would do it. Shit like that.
Things similar to that. He was celebrating and like living in the moment of the kills, and it was very disturbing.
It's a little much.
Yeah, but otherwise the movie was hilarious. Like it was meant to be a farce, a parody of like consumerism, and like the scenes where the Black Friday shopping are just like over the top hilarious. Like, people just like stomping, trampling people, bashing people's heads in for no reason just to get the freaking like toaster oven. It's great.
I should see that. I've never been a big Eli Roth guy. I thought the Green.
The Green Inferno. You saw that?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was funny because they kind of made fun of hippies.
Loved it.
Yeah, a little much for me on the gore factor, but
But that's you're not going to get that from anybody else. There is no other director working now on that professional level who's going to do that style of gore effects. I mean, that's like a lost art at this point.
Yeah. Is Thanksgiving that extreme?
No, the Green Inferno is like the most extreme movie like I've ever seen, to be honest.
He's trying to do like a cannibal Holocaust thing. Yeah.
I mean, there's no scenes where there's almost a similar scene where they do cook a live person in Thanksgiving and serve them up as a turkey.
Okay. Yeah.
But because it's so ridiculous, it's meant to be like you laugh at it because it's so stupid. Yeah. Green Inferno is like deadly serious, and it's terrifying when they're cooking the people alive and eating them.
Yeah.
But I love that movie because it's like the Greenpeace people go to protect the rainforest, and then the cannibals come. I mean, it's like.
You ever remember that South Park with Jennifer Aniston where she took them to the rainforest and their tour guide got eaten by a giant bug and like all this shit happens to him, and then at the end of it she's like, this place sucks, right? And they get saved by the guys tearing down the rainforest, and they're like, keep going, fucking tear it down.
Yeah. I mean, Eli Roth is a special. I mean, now, so we've had that. We've had Machete. I have not seen the Hobo with a Shotgun.
From the Grindhouse trailer.
From the Grindhouse. But they need, what's his name? Rob Zombie needs to make Werewolf Women of the SS.
Yeah. And then Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright needs to make Don't. And then it'll be complete.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the best line in the movie. I mean, spoilers for the movie. Do you care or not?
I don't. Go ahead.
Okay. Spoilers for Thanksgiving. Patrick Dempsey is the killer. Okay. Right. And at the end of the movie, he delivers in the most over the top, hilarious fashion. This year, as he's hunting like the remaining victims, he's like, "This Thanksgiving, there will be no leftovers." And as he's about to like tear into the last like victim, and you can just imagine like Eli Roth telling him, "Okay, do this in the most like worst delivery ever,
Yeah,
We had a
that
kick out of
sounds
that.
I will have to check it out. That sounds fun. That's all I got, brother.
Okay. So we're going to take a break for a little bit until the end of the year. And
Yep.
then when we come back, we're doing the Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera
So
comic
we're
book
doing
style.
Space Ghost and Johnny
Alex
Quest,
Toth.
right? Not anything else.
That's fine with me. I'm fine with just doing Space Ghost and Johnny Quest.
Okay. I got some
I
good
might watch a
reference
few
stuff.
more for context, but I mean, I'd watch the whole thing of both those if we just stuck with those.
Yeah.
So,
If not, I'll pick out some specific episodes that I think are the best. But it'd be interesting to see which, if you're going to make your way through the whole thing, which you think are the best, because
right.
there's different styles to the episodes. There's different types of episodes, Johnny Quest. There's some that are more sci-fi. There's some that are more horror. There's some that are kind of like espionage. So there's a lot of different flavors.
What kind of Space Ghost is there? It's Space Ghost flies by a planet and there's like a big lava monster and then they stop it and that's it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jace is crash land on that planet and he has to rescue him.
You know what I love about Space Ghost the most? When his spaceship goes invisible and it goes
Invisio power.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It has like that wonk kind of like yeah.
Yeah. All right, brother. Everyone, thanks for tuning in.
All right.
Matt, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to do like just a live stream hangout one of these nights too, like on a weekend or something. We'll just bullshit. We'll have you on. Okay.
Have a good one. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody.